Anti-derivative Jill.
Hello, I'm Anti-Derivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations, where I'm continuing a very special journey through all of the episodes of Star Trek, the original series. We're watching in production order, and the 6th episode of Season 3 is Spock's Brain, but it is the first episode in broadcast order, airing on September 20th, 1968. And today we have Scotty R37. Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Great. And Bird of Prey 5 decided to join us. I'm always so happy when he does. Blah.
Hello, world. It's Bird of Prey 5. Kapla.
Mm-hmm. And reference to... Oh, yeah. No, I appreciate
the invitation. As usual.
Yeah, you're always invited whenever the mood strikes you or you got time or whatever.
It's mostly when I have time. The mood is always the problem is the time.
Right. Awesome. Reference to production of these episodes will include Star Trek 365. I learned about that book from Raquel Briggs, who used it to review original series in her show with Clobberin Times on the Clobberin Times channel called Saturday Night Star Trek. Right now, they're reviewing Voyager Season 3. So that's pretty cool. Once we get through that, we'll finally get to 7 of 9 and things will get good. I'm also going to be making references to These Are the Voyages by Mark Cushman because he's got some fun stuff in there. And any other references I'll cite as I go along. And even though my slides go in order, I don't mind talking about it in out of order. So to help with that, I'll read the preview for for Spock's Brain from the 365 book as a refresher. Brain. What is brain? A beautiful woman materializes on the bridge of the Enterprise and renders everyone aboard unconscious. When Kirk awakens, he notices that Spock is missing from his post. A few seconds later, he receives a call from McCoy, who informs Kirk that the Vulcan is down in sickbay, lying on a diagnostic bed with his brain surgically removed. McCoy estimates that they must track down the missing organ within 24 hours or Spock's body will die. Following the ion trail left by the mysterious woman's spacecraft, the Enterprise arrives in Sigma Draconis system, and Kirk confronts the brain snatcher, an iMorg named Kara. Although Kara isn't particularly bright, she refuses to be cowed by Kirk and company. Her people need the controller, their terminology for Spock's brain, which is now running much of the equipment on her world, and they have no intention of returning it. So that's the preview for that. And I'd like to say hello to everybody who's decided to join us today in the chat, whether you're lurking or watching this on the replay or you're here in the chat right now. Thank you for being here. And hello to Franco Walker. Oh, dear Spock's Brain. He's already got a review for us. It's not the worst episode, though. B+. Wow.
I'm kind of with you, Franco. Good work.
And Matt G. Taylor, otherwise known as Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU, says yo.
Yo.
Yama's Queen Jess says Leonard Nimoy did not like this episode. Makes sense. He wasn't really in it. He's in it, but he's like Not really. And hello to Brogu.
Brogu.
And Word Wizard Captain Finity. Congratulations on becoming a member to the channel. Thanks to the gift provided by Matt G.
Delightful. Welcome,
And
Finity.
of course, thank you to Matt G for gifting 2 memberships within 24 hours. Thank you. Gorilla's Random Thought says, Kapla. We get to the episode where Spock becomes... Oh, wait. Jill said I couldn't make the comment. Never mind. Oh, he wants to be political, and that tells you everything of what he's trying to say. And hello. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello to Classic Comics. And Gavin Blackburn, we've hit a rich vein of bad episodes. I know, right? The children shall lead.
I don't want to jump ahead to what's next week, but I'm going to bask in the glory of the brain first.
Yes.
I used to think this was a terrible episode. And then
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I used to think this was the standard by which all bad Star Trek episodes were judged. And then, Star Trek Discovery happened.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
no.
Strange New Worlds and Short Trek and all those things. Yeah, you know what? I earnestly rewatched Spock's Brain. And I earnestly rewatched what's the Journey to Eden or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
This Way to Eden?
Way to Eden. Yeah, Way to Eden. And honestly felt for them that these really were not so bad. Like,
well,
and not a joke.
Yeah, I agree with you. Compared to those, these are absolute masterpieces.
And in all honesty, this is a masterpiece compared to, your average Discovery episode. That it is not even funny. I'm not saying this as a joke. I'm saying this in all honesty. What I used to would have said, oh yeah, this was the worst of Trek. Now I'm not saying it's the best of Trek, but it's damn good.
Yeah.
It's damn good compared to what they try to pass on us now.
Well, you're absolutely right. And that's why I and lots of other people, we make the cutoff point at 2005 in terms of what we consider Star Trek, and it just makes things a lot easier.
Sure,
be able
I
to
agree.
Judge it that way.
It does make sense to do that because
it's
not even funny. Not a joke.
No.
Because if you include stuff after it, then of course this is going to look amazing.
Well, it's better than Code of Honor. It's better than Alan Moraine.
Well,
there you go.
I don't know. I don't know about it being better than Alan Moraine.
Okay.
In a way,
I'll have to compare.
I'll be honest.
Contrast.
Alan Moraine is also, way better than anything, in my opinion, that we got in this episode.
Oh, sure.
Well, it's kind of charming in a way, even though the aliens are completely one-dimensional in that episode. But at least we're exploring new things.
I don't hate Code of Honor like some people.
I do. I never want to see it ever again.
Wow.
I hate it.
No, it's okay. This is about Spock.
Oh, that is a live stream in and of itself. But thanks for everyone for being here today. Yes.
Well, and it'll be interesting when we go through at the end of the series and see what our tops are. And then maybe we could throw in a couple of the bottoms.
Oh, I didn't think about bottoms. Man.
No one thinks about the bottoms.
Okay.
Part of the fun.
365 book says, ask the average fan for his or her opinion about the best episodes of Star Trek, and chances are you'll get a fair sampling. The City on the Edge of Forever, The Trouble with Tribbles, The Cage, Journey to Babel, Balance of Terror. But ask the same fan about the worst episode, and chances are you're going to hear one answer more than any other. Spock's Brain. It's hard to fault that choice. Beautiful but apparently moronic women in very short skirts steal Spock's brain so that the organ can run their planet's central control system, circulating air, purifying water, and operating heating plants. Why? Because the old controller is finished, presumably on its last leg or hemisphere. But why choose Spock's brain? That's never made clear. Obviously, he'd be the best choice if all you had to choose from were members of the Enterprise crew. But of all the inhabitants in the entire galaxy? Really? Yeah, for all the reasons there are to hate this episode, there are an equal number of reasons to love it. Call it a guilty pleasure. Spock's brain is so clearly wrong in every single way, from the beauty pageant smile of the Iborg brain thief Kara when she first shows up on the bridge of the Enterprise, to the fact that Spock's brain is both removed and replaced over the course of the episode without mussing a hair on his head. Perhaps he has a screw top cranium. Which brings to mind one serious question. The opening episode of a show's new season is supposed to set the tone for the coming year and tantalize the audience into tuning in for more the following week. Star Trek's first season led with The Man Trap, an eerie episode with a scary alien creature, and a lot of action. Fair enough. The second season premiered with Amok Time. Sensational. You can't get better than that. And then there was season 3. Spectre of the Gun was the first episode produced, but it was held from airing until the end of October. If the episodes had aired in production order, that's when Spock's brain would have appeared. So just which executive at NBC thought that Spock's brain would make the perfect third season opener? And what was the tone he was trying to set? And welcome to the Nerdporial Lifeform. Thank you so much for deciding to be here today.
Well, thank you for letting me come on. This is what I really love. I know a lot of people. This is widely hated by most fans.
Mhm.
This is a big nostalgia one for me, so that's kind of why I like this one. This was the first I owned. The first 2 episodes I ever owned of original series was this one and Space Seed on VHS. It was the blue VHS that was issued in the 1990s. I think that came out in 94, 95. So.
Well, nostalgia is a huge important factor in sometimes loving something from the past, and so
Yeah,
I'm glad you have something you like from it.
I do, and I thought this was a great. I think this is a fun season 3 episode. This was actually the first episode that aired.
Oh, yeah, this is the first one in broadcast order. The Spock's Brain first aired on September 20th, 1968. It was written by Gene L. Kuhn under the pseudonym of Lee Cronin because he was working for another studio and he had to use a different name in order to write for Star Trek because he was under contract.
I was curious about that because I haven't really studied up on season 3. All I know is that Fred Freiberger took over the role of producer and Roddenberry himself was no longer the showrunner.
Yeah, he was no longer the showrunner, but he was still sending in memos from afar because he had to be doing other things too. So he was still involved in a way. He sent lots of letters. So with Star Trek royalty brilliance at the helm, you'd think this would have been a splendid episode. So what happened? What happened? I really don't know because when they were writing this episode, they were completely serious about it. They were trying to make a serious science fiction episode about organ transplants and everything because they were doing the first heart transplants ever done in history.
Interesting.
So
I didn't know that.
Commentary on that.
I'm curious if this was a script that existed during the season 1 time, but it was just kind of pushed aside because it was kind of not great, and then they took all those not great scripts and made the season. That's just an idea I have. I don't know if it's true.
Well, It's just that Gene could only make 6 episodes, so he was up for 6, and this just happens to be one of them. He wrote early in March. Franco Walker says he heard of body snatchers, but not brain snatchers.
Yeah.
Well, and this
course.
is the most polite brain snatcher because she leaves the body completely, more or less fine, except for it doesn't have a brain.
I had a question. Do you guys? I have right in front of me the NBC press release for this. You guys want me to read it, or
Oh, sure. If you like, please do.
sure? This is what I do whenever I am on Wakizashi's Tea House. I always read the NBC press release because I actually have These Are the Voyages books that basically detail the history of the series episode by episode. So I'll read this right here. This is issued on August 16th, 1968. A beautiful woman's ghostly image startles the officer and crew on bridge of the USS Enterprise. But its disappearance brings the discovery that Mr. Spock's brain has been removed with surgical perfection. In the premiere episode of Star Trek, beginning its 3rd season of color casts on the NBC television network, Friday, September 20th. The adventure drama titled Spock's Brain stars William Shatner as Captain Kirk, Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock, and DeForest Kelley as Dr. McCoy. The Enterprise crew on its interplanetary mission to establish diplomatic relations with other life forms is shocked to learn that Mr. Spock's brain has been transplanted to a metal box and is being utilized to run the necessary computer apparatus of a complex subterranean civilization several thousand years old. Guest star Marge Doucet portrays Kara, leader of a totally female civilization. I love this. It was great. I've never laughed at reading at a press release before, but yeah, this is gold. I mean, the teacher, the whole idea of the teacher, I saw Forbidden Planet years after I've seen this episode, and the I forget the device that they use in Forbidden Planet they basically copied Forbidden Planet here with the teacher.
Oh, you know what? You're absolutely right. I didn't think about that. The device on Forbidden Planet that increases your
intelligence. Yeah, because it makes contact with the face in this episode that you wear the whole thing around your head like your Darth Vader type of deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's just temporary though. In this case, in Forbidden Planet, you either die or you suddenly gain lots of intelligence. So you're right. That's what this might be from.
So I got a question.
That's why it's my thumbnail, because that's my favorite part of the episode. It's actually a science fiction concept that would work with Star Trek because you don't need to worry about the alien technology. That's something that they made, and it's something that we get to see later in Stargate also, if anybody likes Stargate SG-1.
So I got a question for you guys. Here, when she first appears, and I thought the effect of her transporter was let's just say interesting, because you don't really see any other transporter effect in the series, at least not that I'm aware of. Scotty, maybe you can correct me on that. But do you think at this point when she beams over, do you think she was actually intelligent, or do you think she was in her brain? What is brain?
Sort of idiocy.
I
mean, well, first, in terms of the transporter effect, for some reason, this reminded me when I saw it, because they have That Which Survives that comes up later with Lee Merriweather, and she kind of switches 2-dimensionally and then zips closed like a tent door.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I've always enjoyed seeing the different transporter beams from different aliens. I can't recall the if they show a Klingon one.
Oh, they do actually. They do.
Okay.
It's kind of it looks like a little flicker effect in Day of the Dove when Kang and his crew beam on board the planet where Kirk and Chekhov are lamenting an imaginary base that was destroyed by the Klingons. So
right, yeah.
And so it's fun that they call it something different here. They don't call it. What do they call it?
They don't call it a Did they call it a transporter? Because they say that there is a beam emanating from the ship directed.
They call it a transferal beam.
Oh yeah, that's
okay.
right. Transferal beam. Where's it be on the ship of the Enterprise? And all of a sudden they're too late. Red alert, red alert. And then she's already on board.
And so this is the last episode directed by Mark Daniels, and he says that Fred Freiberger, the new producer, and I didn't agree on what the director's the new producer and I didn't agree on what the director's role was. There are many writer producers who don't consider a director a partner. They consider him an employee. This is particularly true in episodic TV. They just want you to do the work, get the shots, and forget the rest of it. I didn't particularly care for that kind of thinking. So he was done. But this isn't the last time he'll work on Star Trek. He comes back for the animated series to write One of Our Planets is Missing, which is an episode I really like very much, and I would love to talk about that. But I already did on Pop Culture Carriers channel. Really cool. It reminds me of the Doomsday Machine a little bit. And this is the only episode title of the original series that includes an Enterprise crew member's name.
Yeah, it's probably the reason why I wanted this episode for Christmas that year, because it had his name on there. It was fun. It was fun. It was as a 12-year-old watching this for the first time. I thought it was fun, and it got me. It's contributed to making me the Trek fan I am. Look at one thing I love about the original series. Look how colorful it is.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a big Nintendo guy. Mario games, Zelda games are very colorful. So seeing this kind of this palette right here just once again appeals to that fan in me, that young fan in me. Like,
well, I do
there.
love the purple. I do love the purple. And she is Marge Doucet. She's 32. She played Kara, the brain thief. She was new to TV. She's been on The Wild Wild West, Get Smart, Hogan's Heroes, and Bonanza.
That costume could never fly today, fortunately.
All My Children and Guiding Light. Why not?
Oh, I don't know, man.
You
We
just
had
need
Baywatch.
That's true.
I definitely can see why I remember this episode so fondly.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, my teenage years, it was just something about it. Hard to put my hand on.
What a mystery.
Well, and the false sense of security of her like arriving on the bridge and having a pleasant smile, and then I just love that classic special effect.
It makes her smile makes everybody forget they have phasers.
Yeah,
it's true.
Did you know that they made fun of this particular episode in the Wonder Years?
Yes.
Like Kevin, Fred Savage's character has a dream that him and his buddies are dating their girlfriends. Their girlfriends all have they're wearing the outfits, and the girls are all dressed up like that. And they have the bracelets, and they push the button, all that. And he's like, "Oh, I tried." And what's funny is Robert Picardo's in that show. He plays the gym teacher.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Yeah,
that is funny. So Dalek says, "Hi all. So we've reached the big one. Everyone loves so much, and so we do. We have someone on the panel who loves this episode. Good luck with this one." Thank you, Dalek.
Well, and if they were a little bit, I don't know if they wanted to. I know that hindsight is sort of 2020. You could have called this episode "The Search for Spock."
Yeah, it's true.
And then it would have been Star Trek 3 Spock's brain.
Yeah. Or Spock's Katra. Brain
Spock's
Katra. Spock's Katra.
But I think this is this is an adventure. This is a rollicking space adventure. Alien shows up, steals something important from the Enterprise.
Yeah,
they have to find the ship getting to the planet, go to the planet, find the disparate gendered alien species, then discover where the MacGuffin, when in this case, the brain, and then try and solve the planet's problem, reconnect the MacGuffin, and happiness pie. Like, I understand the derision that it gets because it is goofy. Seriously, is he just walking around with like a hollow coconut on his shoulder? on his shoulders? Like, I don't think so.
And you
doesn't
can,
make it like a thing?
I've looked closely at Nimoy's acting. Like there's points where he blinks
Yeah.
in the shot, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay,
You're right.
you
He
need
does.
you need a brainstem for that. I'm assuming they took
You
the
need
whole
a-
brain, including the brainstem,
Oh my God. You need a brainstem just to live, to breathe,
to your
to
heart rate,
everything.
heartbeat. Yeah,
The brain is gone. The alien took it, but luckily the alien was polite enough to take out the brain on the sick bed in sick bay. Anyway,
It saves for travel time. You don't have to
Presumably,
bring your own
whatever
tools.
apparatus they had keeping him alive was smart enough to send occasional blinking signals.
like I know that Spock is half Vulcan, but if you lose your brain, like you're saying, you would have to take out the stem if you want to use that brain for something else. So in this case, Spock is dead. This episode is over, and now we've got to grieve the loss of our fellow friend and officer. But he seems to be fine. He has 24 hours to live somehow.
It's like he's working on batteries now. He's not actually got the full engine working his body, and it's just, it's gonna wear out. You know, it's gonna wear out in, let's say, 24 hours.
His brain is gone.
brain.
And this part.
His body lives, the autonomic functions continue.
But there is no mind. Yes,
And I
that's
do-
how well I know this episode.
I like Kirk's reaction to that because he's almost like an audience surrogate, being like, "What?
Yes.
Huh? What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Yeah, too.
What do you mean? I just wonder how this episode was created. I know it was about the organ transplants and everything, but those autonomic functions, the breathing, the blinking, like you're saying, and everything else, require the brainstem at least to function. But if the brain's gone, you have to remove all of it to actually use it. Otherwise, it won't work. So the only way this makes any sense is if he stays in the life support system the entire episode. He doesn't seem to bring any life support device with him except for the remote control thingy for his head.
Yes, I thought that was doing some of the work.
Is it
But
just
they don't
me or
say
does
that.
Nimoy? It's just me or Nimoy? Does it look like Nimoy's at like a spa right now? He's got like a towel wrapped on his head and he's just chilling, getting a massage or getting a happy a happy ending.
Yeah. Yeah. But they don't explain that, so I can't assume anything like that.
What material? I have a question. What material do they use to make that shines in the light in the camera right there, especially with the stuff wrapped on his head? The stuff that they use for the sheets in the sick bay and the beds and all that. Do you know what material they use?
Oh, this
Is
is
that
the
like
pop
gold
culture curator
lame?
question. What?
Like gold lame. There's two famous Elvis stamps. One was later year Elvis with the white jumpsuit, and one was the one with the gold lame blazer, and it kind of looks like that.
Gold lame?
LAMAIS. It's a type of fabric. It shimmers. It's kind of like
it might be.
It's just speculation. I'm not 100% sure. When I
know
looked
what?
at the,
It might be metallic lame from the pictures that I'm looking at. That's
It's a
good
shower
one.
cap.
Metallic
Let's get
lame.
past it. Let's get past this. And I have to think, Matt G, Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU gifted a membership. And Susan Dolan became the recipient. So thank you so much, Matt G. That's so awesome. Hooray for Susan Dolan.
Congratulations.
And Brogu says the same thing. Hooray. Every nerve ending was sealed.
Nothing
and
ripped, nothing torn, no bleeding. It's like a medical miracle.
I could put a fruit basket in there. No, but it's I have to say big shout outs. We got a all hands on deck. We have our classic original 7: Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, Chekhov, Sulu, Uhura. We do get Christine kicking. And in the background in the opening scene, we do get Eddie Paskey as Mr. Leslie.
Mr. Leslie, yeah. I think he was, if I remember correctly, Eddie Paskey was basically Shatner's body double, wasn't he?
There was a different guy.
That was a different guy?
Yeah, because
there's Billy Blackburn, who's another extra. There's
Yep.
I forget the one that plays Spock's body double. You see him quite a bit.
Yes. But if you when you check out Trials and Tribulations from Deep Space Nine, the one that the actor that O'Brien points out and says, "I can't believe it, that's Kirk." That was actually his body double, and I think he was in Children Shall Lead. He was one of the security guards that was flanking Chekhov in the last episode. But he does pop up a lot too. I don't know his name specifically. Pop would.
Okay, and then there's also the same security officer that we see throughout the show, Lieutenant Galway, yes. Lieutenant Johnson, and Day of the Dove. You know, I forget his actor's name too. So, yeah, there's a lot of actors. They're practically their body doubles, they're extras, yet they're royalty. Like I met a few of them at the convention. They're royalty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're awesome. Well, the show wouldn't be the same without them. So of course we need them.
I agree.
And this show wouldn't be the same without Pop Culture Curator. I am so glad you're here. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I just got home.
Welcome home.
What's up, Pop?
Great.
Good to see you all. Hope you're all doing well. Good to see you, Kapla Bird. I hope you're doing good. Say hello to Mama Pray.
Thank you.
One of the big inconsistencies happens right here at this moment where McCoy says, well, anybody else I could keep alive indefinitely, but Spock is more dependent on his brain to stay alive than other species.
We're on the time limit. Tick tock, tick tock,
Yeah.
tick tock. I'm not trying to be Vatic from Picard season 3. Sorry, didn't want to do that. So.
Who?
No, but you're. Oh, okay. I wouldn't even have caught that reference if you didn't say it. Because I was just wanting to mention that before he says Spock's body is dependent on his brain more than we are. Before that, he says that Spock survived because he's Vulcan without his brain. So these two things don't mesh together at all.
Alien magic. He's basically a space elf.
Yes,
that's a terrible take, but it's the best thing I could come up with.
In terms of the contradictions that are there, earlier when we did the menagerie and McCoy is lamenting the condition of Pike and says it's the one thing that we haven't been able to tap into, the brain.
Nothing can reach in, and he can't reach out, and nobody can reach in. Yeah, that was powerful. That was a powerful statement right there.
But now you can take one out and he can live forever. It's fine.
I'll be honest. I mean, I'm going to say this, and I hate to bring up sort of new Trek and everything, but Pike in the wheelchair is more based than the Pike that is in that show. I'm saying it right here.
Yeah, agreed. You're not going to get any argument from me. But I did want to mention, I was wondering if Gene L. Coon was playing a prank on NBC or something, because that's something that Shatner said before, but no, it wasn't the case. He was, as far as I can tell, everybody was very serious about writing this episode.
Now, at that time, NBC wasn't owned by Universal, right? Because I know it's owned by Universal now.
I don't think so.
Because I know that's who Gene L. Coon was working for at the time.
I think they're all Universal's owned by Comcast.
Oh, okay.
Well, at this point, it was Paramount. Paramount purchased this for.
That's right.
Yeah, at this point, it was Paramount. They had purchased it from Desilu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I should have known because I own the VHSs at the end of every episode. You know, you see the Paramount, the old 60s Paramount logo. Duh. Idiot.
Yeah. It's cool.
And speaking of it being an unintentional comedy, anyway, is here's something from the 365 book. It says, as the decades fly by, the original Star Trek with its beloved cast, familiar catchphrases, vivid primary colors, and somewhat unrealistic appearing alien creatures seems to be more and more retro in a good way, of course, a fun way, which is why it made sense when one of the country's preeminent comedy club chains, the Improv, approached Paramount Pictures in 2004 and asked to license a Star Trek episode for a live reenactment on stage at its Irvine, California location. It wouldn't be a spoof of the series, the club's owner promised, nor would it put down the show's audience. Okay, wait, where was I? Nor would it put down the show's audience. The performers would take one script and perform it verbatim on stage for a paying audience's enjoyment. Paramount would even be allowed to pick the episode. For something that was going to be performed at a comedy club, it might have made sense to pick one of Star Trek's 3 acknowledged comedies, The Trouble with Tribbles, A Piece of the Action, or I, Mud. But the studio's licensing department reasoned since those shows were already funny, it wouldn't have lent the performers much room to flex their creative muscles to give the episode a slightly different edge. Perhaps it would be better to choose something that hadn't originally been intended as a comedy, but that would, nevertheless, come across as extremely amusing in the right hands. Thus, when the comic actors at Irvine Improv received their scripts, they discovered they had committed to perform Spock's brain. Not surprisingly, the cast got it immediately, as did the audiences who drove from as far as 50 miles to enjoy a few hours of slightly hammy nostalgia. Originally scheduled on Wednesday night for four successive weeks, the show picked up several encore performances due to popular demand and a command performance at that year's annual Star Trek convention extravaganza in Las Vegas, where the crew faced its toughest audience, hardcore trekkers. The outcome? The trekkers were by far the most appreciative audience of all. The stunned players even received requests for autographs, which had never happened in Irvine. And so I think I have a picture.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, here it is. A poster from the book.
Oh, that's great.
Mm.
See, that would be interesting just as a to read.
Yeah, I'd go see that.
Yeah, so would I. Wow, I didn't even know this existed. Wow. So is this like a script book or something, or?
It's a live theatrical presentation of an actual Star Trek episode. This improv group wanted to do an episode of Star Trek, and this is the episode that Paramount gave them.
When was this? Looks like a couple.
2004.
2004. Okay, I'll have to look into this.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely want to. It's so funny. Even I've been a fan of this franchise for a long time. Been a fan of this original series for a long time. There's always something new to discover about it. So it's awesome.
Absolutely.
But you guys want to hear the story history, the script timeline. So apparently this went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 revisions.
Yeah, most of them by Fred and Arthur, because Gene Kuhn did his work at the beginning, and then it was all them.
Yeah, I mean that's basically how it was with the series, and I have to admit I kind of wish this was the thing. This was the case nowadays with writers. Now we have writers' rooms, and it seems like they only go through a couple of drafts, and they just throw it into production, and then we get garbage.
Yeah, there's no quality control anymore.
So yeah, even though this didn't turn out the best episode, there was care put into it, as if they were seriously taking this. They were taking this seriously.
For a second, I thought that creature was in the view screen. I'm like, what is this? I don't remember that.
Oh, the creature. Oh, okay.
That's from the animated show, right? That one navigator.
Yeah, that's Eric's from the animated series.
Voiced by James Doohan.
He is featured on my shows because I have started to get copyright claims on my slideshows.
Oh, really?
And so in order to avoid that, I started putting watermarks, and Eric's is here to help me with that. And I'd like to read this from Lex Entropy. Sure, Spock's brain is goofy, but I still like brain and brain. What is brain?
It is controller, is it not?
You do that too well, Jill.
It's the only impression I can do.
We're just looking for somebody who knows Spock, who knows where Spock's brain is. Brain. What is brain? It's so. Even back when I was a kid, I was like, oh, what? I was like 12. I'm like, what she ask? Like, that was kind of dumb, but then that was the point.
Well, I want to know what the selection process is. How did they come to decide that Spock was the perfect controller?
I think she liked the way. I think it was the hair. I think it was the Mo Howard spittoon haircut. I think that's what it was. She put her hand on his head and she like, this is the one. She liked the feel of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, just like Scotty can just look at the whole of the starship and tell how cool the engine is. She could just look at the Enterprise and tell how cool Spock is.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, and did you guys dig up anything about the ion propulsion and how that was just a miracle of modern engineering for the 23rd century? I don't know if we had heard anything about ion propulsion so far in the series.
No,
I don't think it was ever talked about in the series before this.
Scotty's going nuts for it. He wants one.
Bananas for it, but this is it. This is the episode. And hello to John Rupas. Shaggy, what's up?
Hey.
Yama Queen Jess asks if that improv is on YouTube. I don't know. I haven't looked.
I just took a glance, and there are parts of it, if it's the 2004 production, but nothing that looks too terribly high quality.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be, if there is something, it's going to be somebody recording it on their 2004 cell phone.
Wow. I really enjoyed this part of the episode where they're just investigating and weeding out planets and all that, trying to figure out where the ship would possibly go. Like, it would not possibly go to Ice Age planet Sigma Draconis 6, I believe, if I remember correctly.
I agree. This is because we don't have Spock to talk to Kirk, because it's usually Kirk and Spock, McCoy trying to figure these things out. So now the whole bridge has to be in on the puzzle solving aspect of it, and
especially Chekhov, because he's the navigator.
And when Spock is gone, he also works as science officer.
True.
And this is interesting just in terms of the way that it was shot. This is a rear projection at the front of the bridge, and so you don't very often get this sort of live movement and going around, because they would have had to like blue screen or whatever to special effect it. They've done it once before, but it was a static image. And this time they had actually they had used the rear projection so that there was something to react to. And so there's a good chunk of this scene that just takes place right in front of the view screen, with Chekhov using it as like, and this is that planet and this is that planet. I thought it was a really neat addition because you get a little bit more sense of the geography of the bridge.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. The especially I think that shot that you were talking about, didn't they reused in like multiple episodes, didn't they?
Well, when they like look,
the shot of the view screen, they're usually
Right. Usually they use matte paintings and stuff
to cover the view screen. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so this one's more interactive. It feels more.
I mean, they walk right up to it. I mean, and Chekhov, Shatner, and Walter Koenig walk right up to it, and then they have the shot like right in front of it. So yeah,
they do it also with the moving starfield, and so this is the only episode to do that. And it was something Mark Daniels wanted to do, and that was the last thing he got to accomplish on Star Trek, and it's a pretty cool thing for him to do.
So they basically just built the set like this, or they had the wall, or they just moved the wall. I have no idea about television production, so I'm assuming they built this, or they reused what they used in earlier episodes, and just put it there and built it, and actually spent the money and shot it like this. Okay. So I mean, fans harping on this episode, I mean, that's another reason to really cherish this one, besides so this is a great thing to bring up. I'd never thought of it.
Well, and that's since we've been going through, and there have been episodes that I've dreaded to watch again. This isn't one of them. Like, I still think that this is goofy camp fun. I don't think that I enjoy the social commentary and the science fiction premises that occur throughout Star Trek, but sometimes I'm in the mood for just a good old fashioned adventure. And that Star Trek does that too. It doesn't always have to blow my mind. It can always just get my heart racing.
I mean, a good chunk of Star Trek is the adventure aspect that you bring up. I mean, I know people online, especially now, have been cherry picking, saying, "Oh, Star Trek was always word that rhymes with smoke and all that," and they cherry pick
No.
episodes. And I'm just like, yeah, there was one episode was about hatred. It wasn't. I mean, the VHS box said it was racism, but the episode was just about hatred between two different types of people that live together. And it was, I was like, instead of comparing it to things that are going on in the U.S., I compare it to a certain thing that happens in a certain Holy Land between two, factions that are, two peoples that are fighting each other. I don't want to bring up the specifics for the stream, obviously, but everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Right,
That's
and
going on now.
that was the magic of Star Trek, to be able to use aliens and other things in order to talk about current issues without actually getting political about these kind of things, and being able to comment on the way that we hope humanity will become, rather than getting mired in the way that it currently is.
Yeah.
Well,
You're using the same book. You're using the same book too that I was reading off of too, so that's pretty cool.
yeah. Everybody got to see the book the Mark Cushman book is great, and so
it's a great read. I have to read the entire thing because I eventually want to do. I don't mean to plug myself, but I want to eventually do an original series retrospective, season by season, like go into insane detail about everything, because this was my wheelhouse.
Well, one positive thing I can say about this episode is that it has a really great score by Fred Steiner, and I really like it. It was good and some of this music shows up in future episodes like the Tholian Web and Day of the Dub, which just so happen to be the 2 episodes that we should expect Hungry Boy to be on our panel. So cool. I can't wait for those.
Tholian Web's a great episode. It's a major highlight in this season. It's probably my favorite episode of the season, to be honest. But yeah, like hearing the thing da 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 da, or no, actually no. Dun 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 dun. That's one riff I think that I first heard in this episode. You guys know what I'm talking about? Or
I think so.
Trying to tune out my imperfect tuning.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, those are great.
In fact, I'm going to clip it, and it'll be a new ringtone. Thank you, sir.
Hey, I do it on streams all the time, and to the long suffering of my viewers. So yeah. Well,
I'm glad you could be here for my viewers.
Yeah.
And another reason I like this scene is because it reminds me of what we get later on in TNG in terms of the conference room scenes of figuring things out together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just do it on the bridge, and everybody's adding their 2 cents, and it comes to consensus. But as it's been mentioned before, the ultimate decision is Kirk's. But I like how Uhura isn't just sort of reiterating what has been said between Sulu and Chekhov, but she's like, "Wait a second, we're all worried about where the brain is.
What would they want with his brain? Yeah, why? Why do they want it? Yeah, Scotty, you're on the money there. But yeah, like I totally agree. Like the episodes I really enjoyed. Now I love season 1, but the issue I have with season 1 is that majority of those episodes or a good chunk of them, only had Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and maybe Uhura. And the like Chekhov obviously wasn't in the first season, and we didn't see Scotty or Sulu. I mean, they were in most of the episodes, but they weren't in a good chunk of them, just because they weren't written to be in them. I like how in this particular episode, like you said earlier, Scotty, all the characters are in there, and they all had a pretty big, decent role to play in this. And these guys, the more
with Spock out of commission, the other characters do have to step up. I do like that it takes both Scotty and Chekhov to do the work that Spock used to do on the planet. And so that's great, because that shows just how awesome Spock is. And
what's funny is I'm sure you guys there's a point where Kirk says I forget, he's like greetings, Mr. Spock, and then he's like, oh, Mr. Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a nice little character touch. I did enjoy that a lot.
Yeah.
And then
The morgues, this part, the part where they try to explain what women are.
Tell you one other thing I really love that it has nothing to do with the episode, but it is.
Suit temperatures are 72.
It is.
It's just,
I love those sound stages. I love those sets.
Well,
Yeah.
what about that, Jill? Tell me more about that, because I'm excited that you actually clipped that, and I want to know why.
because I am always looking for fun science fiction stuff, and the idea that you can just change the temperature of your suit is pretty neat, and I'm surprised that it doesn't carry forth in other episodes, because that's a good idea.
That's the beauty of the limitation of budget. You know, you get to be creative in so many ways. I mean, they didn't want to spend the money to have a ship land every episode, or have a ship land period. So that's where, you know, everybody knows Roddenberry came up with the transporter.
Mhm.
Well, and it's almost like a precursor to the what are the belts, the force field belts that they have
Oh,
in
right.
TAS, and just a fun little throwaway line that says, "What do you mean you're switching your suits to 72 degrees? What? Huh? You can do that? I guess." So
Yeah,
that's
Which
I like
which
that a
episode?
lot.
Which episode of the animated show?
With the environmental belts.
View of 'em.
Oh, and
Under-
the
yeah.
Kazinti one? The Kazinti one, right?
Well,
I think so.
they were even underwater with those. They had them in a few episodes.
Hmm.
Yeah, it comes up a lot in the animated series. It's
It also
very
I
prevents
have
it also prevents you from being crushed if something heavy falls on you. Apparently,
Oh yeah.
I have a,
Oh,
I have a,
right.
I have a confession.
Scotty,
I
that happened to
might
Scotty.
I might get lynched for this. I'm not the biggest fan of the animated show. I mean, I've seen it once or twice, but Spock 2, Giant Spock.
Well, you're picking
I'm
the
just-
Giant Spock episode. I think I
wow,
know
he's
what
picking
the
that.
problem
That's
is.
some of the best episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I'm like, okay, more Majel Barrett, more James. Majel Barrett's all the all the other female characters. James
They show
Doohan's all
Nichols
the
voice
male
some of the.
characters.
They show Nichols voice some of the female characters. I take it you like Kenji though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
but
I was the
the
same
thing
way.
is-
I
Oh,
was the
you
same
were?
way until last year. I didn't really care for the animated series. I hadn't seen it all because I was sort of taken by, oh, it's the animation's not that good, and I'm not really interested in half-hour storytelling. But like when we did it on Pop Culture Curators channel with Jill and Gorilla, it was eye-opening how much I actually enjoyed it when I watched both seasons. I had the same feeling,
Yeah.
man. But if you give it a go, if you give it a fair shake, I recommend.
There are incredible stories beyond just yesteryear. I really love Eye of the Beholder, and I mentioned earlier Mark Daniels wrote One of Our Plants is Missing is a good one, and there's just lots of really, really cool stuff. And even in episodes that aren't any good, like the ones that are panned, like the Practical Joker, that's where we get to first see the holodeck. So I really love the anime.
I have a question. I'm assuming everyone on this panel has seen Star Trek Continues, right?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Some of it.
Oh, you should watch all of it. It's excellent. I was curious. Okay, Scotty, would you watch? Because I've talked to younger fans who are experiencing Star Trek for the first time. I've told them to watch Continues. I haven't really been able to recommend the animated show, but if I were to, should they watch it before the Continues?
Yeah, I would think so. But they're sort of in. I don't want to say in conflict. They're sort of. They occur consecutively just because Continues is supposed to be the fourth and fifth years.
Right? You mean consecutively in the Star Trek timeline?
Well, and I'm sure you could pepper them in. You can watch animated and Continues because animated is supposed to be 4 and 5 as well.
Okay.
Of the 5-year mission.
Yeah, those are the 4 and 5 of the mission. Yes, exactly. That's how I see it.
I wouldn't think
And-
it would hurt to do either or.
Yeah. I think the only thing that would hinder it is the last episode of Continues is the last mission of the 5th year of the 5-year mission.
Okay. And if Bert says so, you know it to be true.
True.
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, it is. And I want to say hello to the person that we have in the Rumble chat, AFS 1970. Hello. He says the salt vampire was misunderstood, generic hatred between two people that just happened to be made of two random colors. Oh, yeah.
I think about the Man Trap, and I know it was an early episode, it was the
Mhm.
very first episode that premiered, but like especially with the way Star Trek has evolved, do you think? I think had that episode come out later, do you think they would have found a way to keep the creature alive without able to stop it, keep the creature alive without, but yet stopping the creature from killing the crew?
Right.
The
All
problem
it
was
needed
the
was
cre-
enough salt.
Right. The problem was the creature was a predator, which made it dangerous.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
You got to keep that in mind. The creature was a predator.
You
Even though it was intelligent, it was a predator.
but pop culture, you could take it to the Telosians and it could live at the zoo. Eh,
I agree, but it's like I think the mentality is it's kind of like like a dog when it attacks people. You know, you love the dog, but if it kills somebody, they have to put it down. Or like a bear, once it gets the taste of blood.
that makes sense, I guess. It's kind of like
if it's a predator, you just can't trust it because I mean, yeah, you can put
it's-
it in a salt mine; it can live happily ever after. But you know, you're going to have to isolate it and keep anybody away from it.
In other words, you're saying it's part of its nature to basically prey on other.
Well, yeah, because not only that, but it was manipulating people by fooling them using its appearance. So yeah, it would
especially
lure people in and then kill them.
You know, I think the funniest manipulation was Darnell seeing the girl from the Pleasure Planet. But I love the one where Uhura sees the really dashing, handsome crewman right there. She's like, "Crewman, do I know you?" No way, man. You were thinking of someone.
Right, which makes it even more dangerous. So I would have to agree with why it was put down.
Okay, I think I agree with you now, pop culture curator, because it's just like that episode where they have the Borg Hue and they let it live, even though that instead of using it to infect all of the Borg, they don't take advantage of that opportunity, and it's the most ridiculous thing.
Well, and also, just in terms of comparing and contrasting with subsequent aliens, part of the reason why you get something so terrifying as the salt vampire in the first couple of episodes, and then you go to Devil in the Dark, and then it's something even more monstrous, and then you find out that it's benevolent. It's that juxtaposition that it doesn't matter what they look like. You do have to understand their motivations, and it adds to the vastness of the galaxy as opposed to just being a Monster of the Week show.
So whereas
that's the difference with the Horde. It wasn't a predator. It was doing that to survive and to protect it.
Right.
It was Okay, so the Horde. Okay, because that was actually the comparison. That's probably the reason why I thought this was because of the later Devil in the Dark with the Horde and how they managed to work something out with the Horde, whereas they
that's my favorite episode.
It's William Shatner's favorite episode too. Apparently.
Really? I missed out on that fact.
It's weird.
It depends on which convention. It depends on which convention you go to. I met him twice, and he said it was City on the Edge of Forever.
Yeah, I heard it was City too.
He's like George Lucas. He always changes his stance and all that. That's funny. But yeah, I mean Shatner's father. I know that Shatner's father died during the filming of the episode, so he was away. So when Spock was doing his his pain thing, that was. Shatner wasn't there for that.
Right. That was his double or stand-in.
Yeah.
Returning. Oh, okay. I was just reading the private chat out loud. Okay.
I like how these guys have the balls.
All the yellow solution. It's the salt vampire.
Yeah, guys with stones and clubs versus phasers. I wonder who.
And Franco Walker is standing up for the salt vampire, saying, "Yeah, but the salt sucker lived with that guy for years without incident, as long as it had enough salt."
Only because that was its only connection to the Federation. If it would have killed the Doctor, then it would have been basically on its own. It would have run out of salt, and the Federation would not return. I think that's the only reason why it kept the Doctor alive.
Okay.
And then, by the way,
interesting.
I think it did have. I think it may have had some minimum emotions. It may have cared for Dr. Crater, but ultimately, I think it knew that it was its only connection for more salt. Pretty much, without Federation, you don't get more salt.
It's weird when you think about that episode now, because Crater at the end of the episode says it needs love as much as it needs salt. So it just leaves to the imagination what was going on down there.
Well, it's possible. It's possible that it does feel love. But for example, if you beam 10 people down to that planet and say you're going to work on that planet, it's going to kill 9 of them and keep one of them alive
Yeah.
because it knows that that's future salt.
Okay. That makes
Okay, there we
okay,
go.
it's an interesting take.
Right, because if there's no salt on that planet, that's why they had to have tablets. And without a person,
Yeah.
without any connection to the Federation, that means no more salt.
I want to say hello to Wes Cagle and SP4H. And Lexa Entropy says, I found 8 minutes of the stage play and news story of the stage play titled Star Trek Spock's Brain on Stage by Mike Corona and Star Trek Spock's Brain news story and live show clips. Cool. The salt vampire didn't kill the doctor out of self-preservation. Oh, not love. Okay. Anyhow, I do have this clip to play from this scene.
Oh, they come. They give pain and delight.
They do.
One who turns his head.
Women. Imorgs.
Yes, and he is played by James Darris, who was the one. Okay, so he had just played Burly Man in I Spy and a guy named Shorty on Bonanza. And then he would be cast as a super giant robot for an episode of Land of the Giants and a pool room thug on Mannix. There you go. That's that guy. And let's see. Oh, AFS 1970 from Rumble says his favorite episode written down and placed in the captain's seat. So you need to know the combination to find the show. And Franco says, SB4H, you were ill. I hope you're better now. Oh, right. Yes, I only generally said what was going on. SB4H. I didn't know how much you were comfortable with me sharing. And yeah, he's home now. That's women for you. Yeah, right.
Oh, they come. They give pain and delight.
Yeah, that sounds
Where-
like women.
Where are you? Where are your women?
Just kidding.
Women?
No, it actually no, you're kind of right. And so then they do leave the trap out for the men. And I kind of like this too. I like the trap that they leave out when they get to it. It's like an elevator. It's a room. It just looks like a room, a cave. And it turns out to be a trap to ensnare the men for their purposes.
It's funny. What's funny, they don't trigger the trap until they're ready to. They walk in, they realize it's a trap. They say it's a trap. They walk out, and then they bring in one person, and then Kirk just moves, and then it triggers.
Yes, you're really not sure of what the catalyst is to make the.
Also, I was assuming it was like they break a beam or something. And that's what triggers the trap. That's what I always thought.
Yeah, and you have to come up with things like
Right,
that.
because basically Kirk says, okay,
Because-
let's trigger it. And then he makes one step, and then it triggers.
Nothing in this episode is explained, so you have to explain it yourself in order to love it.
Pain and delight. Pain and delight.
And delight. Oh, well, that's Pain and Delight is a good review for this episode if you do love it.
Where are your women? Women? A female of your kind. Your words say nothing. Don't you have a mate? A mate. A companion. How's a person?
See, they walk right in the trap and then back out again. And then they get Spock, walk in, and then trigger it.
Yeah.
Well, right, because they have to meet up with remote control Spock.
Maybe it's a weight thing. Maybe it'll only trigger depending on how many people are in the.
It's a specific.
Oh.
It's a specific movement. It's a specific movement. When they walk back in there with Spock, they're all standing still. I want you to imagine that, standing in one place, nothing's happening. Kirk says, "Okay." I can't remember his exact words, but he takes one step forward. Then the door shuts, triggers, and they go down.
Okay.
So it's not until the landing party's ready for it to be triggered does it trigger. And don't ask me why.
Right, when the plot is ready, then it goes.
Right, because otherwise it should have triggered when they first walked in the very first time.
I like your
Agreed.
explanation, but I also like Nerporial's. So,
I just pulled that on my pulled that
Mhm.
on my head.
Oh yeah, I know it's headcanon, but that's what you do when you like something, and so it's fun. So earlier in the chat, Yama's Queen Jess said that Leonard Nimoy doesn't like this episode, and that's right. This is something that Leonard Nimoy says. He says, once the brain is gone, Spock's kind of a robot, and I had to figure out how to cool down even from cool and just go kind of limp, numb, dead, and play brainless for a week. And Mark
That must have
Daniels
been
said,
painful. That must have been painful for him.
right. And so he's so used to having to control his emotions in order to act, and he does it so wonderfully. In this episode, it's like you don't even get to do that. Nothing. Be nothing.
Well, and the good news is he didn't have to memorize a bunch of lines like usual. He still,
Yeah,
he still gets the screen credit, but without having to speak.
He still gets the same amount of money because he does have some lines that he gets to phone in. Mark Daniels said, fortunately, Nimoy pulled it off.
I was speaking of lines. I'm curious. There's one thing that if there was one thing a criticism I have of the original series, that there were so many extras that didn't have any lines. Like if they were given like a single line, how much like does anyone know how much more they'd have to pay them or something? I'm assuming a good deal.
You have to pay them more than if they didn't speak. That's for sure. And Scotty R37 has to step away for a bit. And Bird of Prey 5 needs to leave soon. Hey, Bird, do you want to give your review before you have to dash?
Oh, no, there's nothing I need to say. There's
okay.
just a heads up.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, great. And Scotty R37 has to be away for a bit. I don't know for how long. Is Scotty wearing the head cannon? It's Spock wearing a head cannon, sorry. Yes, he is. He is, because Scotty R37, who had to step away, head cannoned in it that some of the life support systems is in the helmet. Even though nobody ever says that at any point, nothing is ever explained. But fans will insert stuff into the show to explain things that are not explained.
Especially in the newer shows, which I mean is a problem.
It's a constant problem in this episode in particular. And Leonard Nimoy continues. He says, that kind of thing didn't advance the character or Star Trek, Nimoy said. On the other hand, we didn't have Spock doing anything that was out of character in that show, necessarily. So in respect, the character was more or less protected.
Oh,
so
look at
that. Nice.
I remember, like, yeah, it zooms into that, and you play that. They play this like this menacing music for some reason. Dun 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 dun. It was like that. I was just like, I watch it now, and I just laugh whenever they do that.
I laugh a lot in this episode, so it's at least funny. I'd say it's the best of the worst.
What do you think of the sound that they used for? So when McQuaid hits a button, it goes. When Spock is all the ticking when Spock is walking.
Yeah. Well, it's the mechanics of the device, I suppose.
The second episode to feature them heating a rock with the phaser.
I do like that.
First episode was The Enemy Within. Sulu.
Right, when Sulu had to be stuck on the planet.
And I think
yeah, go ahead.
I think they did design that rock to glow because you could see the reflection on their hands.
Oh.
First I thought it was an effect.
Right.
But then I watched, if you go back, when they hold their hands up to warm their hands, you can see the orange reflecting off their hands. Unless they use special effects to do that, which is unlikely. So I think it was a hollow rock with an orange light inside.
Oh, okay. That I didn't even think about how that would have
been
cool.
Done. I didn't know that.
That is a great idea.
Just look to see if it reflects, if the light of the rock reflects off their hands, and you can see it. Sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes I feel like Pop Culture Curator could make a Star Trek episode. And
well, it would have to be TOS based, as you everybody that knows me, right?
Mm-hmm. And the jumpsuit Nimoy's wearing was first. It was featured in This Side of Paradise.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
They were all. I think the entire colony, the entire Omicron Ceti colony were wearing those, right?
33. Yes.
Bertold Rays, bastards.
And now that they're underground, the crew remembers their phasers, and so they do stun the alien woman this time.
I am Luna. I am Morg. I am Imorg. You are not Morg. You are not Imorg. What are you? Sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
That's how
fine.
good. That's how much I remember this.
If you
Well,
want to
it's-
sing along, it's fine.
It's interesting because Kirk recognizes the device on her wrist and he shoots her before she's able to activate it. But he lets the other woman shoot them for some reason. I hadn't figured that out.
For a second, I thought it was what's her name too, and I realized, wait, she's not wearing the same costume.
Yes, this is
Wearing
Luna.
gold instead of purple.
She's played by Sheila Layton, the second most prominent of the Subterranean Beauties. She was on The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Green Hornet, Get Smart, Hogan's Heroes, and Mannix. And hello in the chat too, James Caserta. Welcome to the show.
Hello, James. Good to see you all. And hello to everybody in the chat, by the way.
I love the. I love the makeup of the ladies, and I just love that soft effect that they always have around them whenever they show a close up of the female actress in the show.
And yeah, I agree. Yeah, the ladies look great this episode. That's one thing you can say positive for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, it depends on your opinion. I agree too, but this episode sets a lot of women. They don't like the way women are portrayed in this. So it all depends on your point of view, I guess.
Well, if you believe in equality, then you believe in being able to see women portrayed in all spectrums of intelligences. Because
I agree, and it's fiction.
when you baby someone and you say we can only portray this specific group as vastly intelligent all of the time and they can never have any faults or foibles, that's when you get really bad storytelling, really bad characterization. That's how you get Mary Sue's. That's how you get stilted dialogue, stilted everything, and non-human. You make them non-human in trying to make them perfect, and I think that is more offensive.
I don't understand why people would be offended, because it's a matriarchal society that the men are fearful of. So they are like, they're in positions of power.
This guy's got good points.
Did this episode inspire Angel One?
TNG.
Yeah,
Angel One. That man. That's just that episode. Just pure 80s. The hair.
Yeah.
I just think of both the men and the women.
Well, this hair with this episode, or with Star Trek, the women's hair, that's definitely 60s. So, the go-go's or the miniskirt, the hair. So, Star Trek's dated to a point, but it's still dateless. I think it could still pass for generations. It doesn't really, at least they stopped with the men and wearing the miniskirts. Yep. That was just early on test that they got rid of really quick, thank goodness.
Yeah, right. And it's not like they made the women dumb on purpose. They made the men are dumb too. Everybody's dumb because they all started to rely just on this one device that did everything.
Right. That's the point of this episode.
This is Ice Age, pre-Ice Age, or this is Ice Age level of civilization. So yeah.
But that's the point of this episode. They're all dumb, except they're all dumb without that device. So when they need the device, they go to it to seek knowledge, but the knowledge is not permanent, so they have to go back again and again.
I forget. Maybe Poppy. Maybe you can answer this. Did they ever go into like the old? Well, not the old ones. I forget what they called it. The people that built the teacher. Do they ever really go into it? Is it kind of like the Krell from Forbidden Planet?
No, there's no detail on that. As far as I know, this is something he mentioned in a further episode of a different series.
No, the closest they do come is at the very end with a burst of enthusiasm from Nimoy playing Spock when he says what had happened with the encroachment of the Ice Age and the separation between the women going underground and the men being above ground, and a schism takes place between the genders.
Yeah.
They sort of get into it, but then everybody, it's the laugh and learn and then pull away with credits.
I knew I was wrong. I knew I was wrong. What was
Usually
what
they
was
write
that,
it off.
Doctor?
Usually, a lot of
I
times,
should.
a trope they use in TOS is they write it off to some ancient civilization that's no longer around.
Hmm.
But
I
I don't
guess
know if they
that,
didn't
Right,
specifically say
exactly.
those words for this one.
I wonder
Well,
if they
that's what
have.
you have to assume. You're right. They don't explain anything. I could say that a lot during this
Yeah.
episode.
Okay, that's a shame. But I'm guessing in the subterranean culture right here, I'm guessing that there's plenty of gyms for the dudes to work out and be buff like that dude on the screen right there. Gotta be a strong thrall, I guess.
Well, and
Well,
that's
yeah, because they're forced to live that on the surface most of the
to
time.
toughen them up. They they do they are harvested. The men are harvested from the surface so that they can do stuff underground.
And then they can just have some fun and
Food cubes.
Every man's dream.
so. But if they
Harvest.
capture enough men, do they not don't they not need to do that? They'll have kids, and then I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
I think it
Well,
would
I'm
be like
guessing if they have
livestock.
children, then the men are sent upstairs, right? The
Yeah.
boys,
Are
the
they?
children?
Or
and they
just throw the
separate them
boy
at birth?
babies back up.
The
Up there.
baskets.
I guess so.
Really?
Who raises? So who raises them? Do they have like a nursery where they get to a certain age and then they release them up on the surface, or they just send them all up on the surface to die? But I don't expect a man.
Maybe they wanted a strong male, that can survive up in the cold and raised like the rest of the men. Then they bring him down, and that's the only way they can, like him.
Yeah.
If you raise them in the warm, they're just weak and probably nerdy.
Men are expendable.
Well,
Just
that
like
is
in
better.
normal society.
That's true.
Well, it's strange that out of all the, I don't know how many generations I'm supposed to have passed at this point, but you think the men would have banded together and revolted at some point instead of being. I mean, this kind
Yeah.
of reminds me of the Eloy in the Time Machine, where they're very passive and they just let themselves be taken advantage of, and it just doesn't seem very likely.
Right. It doesn't seem very likely that these belts that you just need that you just have to press a button to free yourself from
Right.
would
Well,
actually keep them in order.
right. I'm sure even the men realize that all the power these women have are in that little device on their wrist. And all they have to do is when those women come up, first of all, don't answer the trap. The women come up waiting to see why nobody's triggered the trap. And then when they do, just prevent the woman from pushing something on that thing on her wrist is all they have to know. If they can get that thing off her wrist, they control her. And once they control her, they can get down to the down below. But
Well,
I
I'm
don't
wondering
know.
if there is an
Yes.
agreeable or a hunter-gatherer society
Agreed.
that's happening on the surface, because it is glacial. And so maybe that's the only way that they get food. And then once they get in and it's like, oh, we can get our food and weapons and I will fight the tribe from across the valley. And then they get sucked down. Then they you don't even need to have the belt on you to get all, because they do it on the Enterprise without belts. You can just knock them out. And as long as you've got enough distance, they're probably big dumb apes that are confused. They don't know what's going on. Next thing they know, they're just like our heroes here. They wake up with a belt on and then they are completely powerless.
Even though the device still works on them, regardless of whether or not they have a belt on or not. So that's one thing that always confused me.
Mm-hmm.
That is confusing. That's not explained either.
Well, they get knocked out versus the pain. No, wait, they do feel pain. Never mind.
What?
They come. They give pain and delight.
Yeah, so that always confused me. But hey,
Yes, I certainly did notice those delightful aspects.
I liked that little light fixture they had there. Pretty nice.
It looks like it was from an Italian restaurant.
Yeah. We got something like that. I got something like that in my kitchen too.
Yeah,
They could have tried a little
E.T.
harder
the
to
movie
remove
E.T. has that too in their kitchen.
And so, yeah, so their intelligence is just attributed due to misuse rather than them being incapable, because they do realize that Kirk wants to take Spock back. So, but they're confused.
Brain and brain.
Hey,
What
JT
is
Kirk.
brain?
And hello to JT Kirk. He says, hail, lurking and working. Obligatory. What is brain statement? Yes.
The one thing I
Well-
noticed throughout the episode is because you get to see Spock, he doesn't have to do anything, and he's just sort of sitting there,
He's like
spaced out.
slumped. He is slumped. He looks
Yeah.
terrible. He looks unhappy.
And I think that I read that years later, Leonard Nimoy said that he was just embarrassed by this episode. He would have been bored making it. He does actually come to life quite charmingly at the end. But can you imagine just being asked to, and some people would think this was awesome. Some people would think this is pointless, but being asked to show up for work and it's like, sit there, stare silently, don't do anything.
It's brutal. It's brutal. You
Like boredom is awful.
It's the time goes by so much slower that those days.
You just get to sit here and listen to Bill Shatner talk for 8 hours. All right.
Oh,
all right.
Crido has a question. What's your favorite Star Trek series? You're looking at it. I love the original series the most.
Same here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think DS9 is the best written series, but this is my favorite.
Oh, yeah. There's incredible writing for television in Deep Space Nine, no doubt.
With TNG a close second, in my opinion. TNG is some of the best written episodes, period, of all television, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, I can't. It would be an interesting debate, but I don't see a point in pursuing it simply because, like, yeah, for every Spock's brain or every Angel One, you're gonna get, a Darmok, you're gonna get a City on the Edge of Forever, and so yeah.
Or Balance of Terror.
Wow, you guys consider Darmok a good episode, huh?
I do.
Yes.
Huh,
I think it's an incredibly inventive episode to get around the restrictions of the universal translator to come up with an interesting way to have to communicate with another species.
No, I understand the plot, and I remember the episode clearly. It's just that it had been done in Enemy Mine and Robinson Crusoe, and I mean, it's just that for me it was an old trope, and that's why I didn't like the episode.
Yeah, Robinson Crusoe on Mars. I love that movie. And also, and the Orville does an episode like it, and so does the series.
Voyager, I don't know, Voyager, Enterprise.
The script was directly out of Enemy Mine.
I mean, there was literally an episode
It's like Enemy
called The
Mine.
Enemy.
It was exactly. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Enemy Mine was a great movie. I loved Enemy Mine.
I liked it.
How you guys felt about it? I liked it.
And I can understand getting frustrated by tropes, but I remember hearing television writers saying tropes exist for a reason, and if you can be creative with them, then they're useful tools.
I'd rather have, especially with if they were to if I had my way and I was running Star Trek, I would start with repurposing some old tropes from these shows and then work in some new ideas instead of borrowing from freaking Star Wars of all things. Like
I don't mind tropes, and I know. I mean, it's like Shakespeare. There's only so many plots that can go around. It's just that if you're gonna, never mind.
I didn't know about Robinson Crusoe though. Which was it, a movie or was it like a book or an episode of Robinson Crusoe?
It's a movie. It's a really cool
story.
movie.
Robinson Crusoe
really
on
fun.
Mars, specifically,
Really
I think
fun.
was what we're talking about.
Okay,
Really super fun, cool movie. Has a monkey. It's great.
I have not seen that. I'll have to add that to my list of the many things I still need to see.
Mm-hmm. You should.
We
Oh.
reviewed it on a Friday just recently.
Yeah, we did. AFS 1970 from Rumble says his favorite is TNG or she. I don't know. I didn't really get pronouns.
Like there are episodes of TNG that no matter how many times I've watched them, they bring me to tears. Just how well written and just the context and the content and
Yeah, depending on the episode, I agree.
like the Offspring. Offspring's the episode I'm thinking of.
My God, you just picked my favorite TNG episode.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah, and it's one of the most heartbreaking. And Brent Spiner's performance at the end of the episode was just I no matter how many times I watch it, I have the same exact reaction. I'm thinking about it and having the reaction too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And I like that one because it has somebody who's an antagonist, not necessarily a villain, and he also even turns around at the end and he tries to help. But of course,
Oh, you're,
Yeah, the Admiral.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We want to talk to somebody about Spock's brain. That's all. What is brain?
Like Bran and Bran. What is Bran?
Brain and brain. What is brain?
That's
There.
right. The human brain controls the autonomic functions. Spock's brain controls.
I can't say it too many times.
I do enjoy that one of Kirk's answers is, all right, fine, we'll just worship you. How's this? Will this help? Can we get the brain if I
And
worship
she's
you?
smart enough to
Yeah.
see through their bullshit. That's what's so funny about this. Like you know me, you have said that. You've come to take back the controller. Fearless leader, we beg you.
I'm sure the Morgs have tried that before.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
for
then-
my life.
Yes. James Caserta quoting Lol. It's a beautiful line. It's
That was
a really you're right, it's
beautiful line. Oh my god.
heart-wrenching episode. And
She's
funny.
like, and he's like, I can't feel this. I can't. And she's like, I'll feel it for both of us. Oh, jeez.
Oh. That has to be a Friday show one day. But it had to be paired with Measure of a Man.
Yes,
They go together.
because I think I think they've directly referenced Bruce Maddox in that, or no, maybe that was Data's Day. Sorry, in
Data's Day they do.
I do love all of the shots of the equipment. They had a close up of the phaser earlier, and now just here's all of your.
What is that a matte painting? What is that? What is that? Looks
the
what's
background?
that pattern? Yeah,
I don't know.
60s wallpaper.
That's okay. That's trippy. I never even noticed that.
Well, it kind of looks like the
Okay, that's what it is. Okay.
It looks like the sort of like the grating that's on Balok's ship in the Corbomite maneuver, and then they just put another piece of wood behind it, painted it purple.
Yeah, gotta repurpose stuff.
Well, and they do like there's another shot later on that shows a computer working. I think it's when the teacher is working, and it was lifted from, or at least what I recognized it. Maybe that's not where it was initially from, but from Assignment Earth with the computer on that Gary 7 had. But I think that was lifted from something else too.
You're right. I didn't even think of that.
M5.
M5. Okay.
I think you're right, Scotty. But also,
This fellow is keeping us from our property.
Dun, dun.
Fight.
Oh, it's great. And there's just Spock.
Spock just in there, just like.
Uh-huh.
everyone's while blinking to remind you that this episode is kind of dumb.
I'm gonna sit like this. I'm gonna sit like this for the rest of the stream.
Yep.
Pete Kellett, the morgue guard who joins them on the fight against Kirk, Scotty, and McCoy, had been seen in Star Trek often in small roles. He was Kirk's henchman. This is from the Cushman book in Mirror Mirror, and will be a Klingon in The Day of the Dove. Because of his ability to throw or receive a punch, he appeared in hundreds of TV segments, including 47 episodes of Gunsmoke, playing a character identified as Brawler.
You gotta love the stunt doubles who can get on screen for not just doing stunt work.
Yeah,
But,
Gene had a whole completely different idea of this episode that never made it into this episode that I would have liked. Like, because if you take someone's brain out of their brain and you put it into a different device, that's the thing that's been done in science fiction before. What are the manifestations of that, and what would Spock actually think of it? In this episode, he's just like, it's fascinating, whatever. But Gene says, I like Spock being fascinated by his present situation, as indicated by the first speech on page 38. Spock would be interested in this, an enormously unusual scientific opportunity to examine the functioning of a brain in an artificial environment. Spock might rather like this feeling, this freedom from the confines of a body. It is consistent with Spock's character that he might be delighted at this opportunity to now exist on a level of pure thought and pure logic. Another juice item in this, Spock isn't sure he wants to return to his body. He will live for perhaps dozens of centuries this way. He has entree to the combined wisdom of the ancients, fascinating lore. He alone is making possible the existence of a whole civilization, and the very controlling of everything could likely create in Spock's mind a feeling that it is necessary and right he is here doing this. An interesting area to explore and an interesting additional problem for Kirk to face, and which never happened. But I like that was thought of by Gene, even though it didn't make it.
Well, and then when the rescue of Spock does mean the demise of this particular civilization, Prime Directive doesn't apply because they have ion powered ships. But he's basically it's another situation that has been brought up before. Is Kirk shows up and sees stagnation and says, "This is an interesting civilization you got here. It would be a shame if anything happened to it."
Right. Well, I loved Return of the Archons. This is
Yes.
not Return of the Ark. But yes, it's the same idea. A stagnant civilization, or worse. This is worse.
Without getting too political here, Return of the Archons is very relevant. It's a very relevant episode. Without going.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
But also this, and I don't want to keep bringing up Next Generation, but it sort of reminds me with that use of the brain to control the mechanization of the planet. It kind of reminds me of the Nth Degree, where Barclay becomes super smart and then builds the
Nth Degree, yeah.
And he's got the lights going into his brain because he can actually control things faster than the crew can, and so it's kind of
like Lawnmower Man, but way cooler.
Way cooler than the Lawnmower Man, although less Pierce Brosnan than the Lawnmower
Man. Yeah, no, I love Barclay, and I love that episode, and I love that after that episode, it seems like he is more intelligent. Like he was able to retain some of it, and they show that at the end of that episode where he's better at chess.
I didn't know you could play chess. I can't. This was funny, just walk and talk, but it's just Kirk saying, keep concentrating. Keep concentrating.
It's just so silly, this episode. Oh, God.
Yeah. But and it is silly, and there's no way I can argue that, especially with the remote control, but I do enjoy how everyone is taking it seriously. There's no one really winking at the camera during this. Everyone's taking it as, all right, it's just another MacGuffin. It just happens to be Spock's brain.
Lex Entropy says I do a good job saying the line. And yeah, so that's the only line I can do. I'm not going to do it again. Maybe later. But thank
Ariba
you.
Bell.
Oh, Ariba Bell is here. I know a sonic screwdriver would get those belts off in a jiffy. Oh, yeah. You're right. That would be very useful here. Oh, I'm going too fast.
Unfortunately, this is a fixed point in time. The Doctor cannot alter it. And the Kirk
James
foo,
Caserta
for sure.
says it's the Kirk maneuver for sure. Yeah, he has a lot of good Kirk foo in this episode. That's for sure. Way to see some positive in this episode, and that's always a good thing. And hello to Jedi Bill. Hey, Jedi Bill.
Jedi Bill.
Yeah, always awesome to see you guys in the chat. Recycled idea, the Nth Degree. So good, though. Gotta love my broccoli.
I do like Cytherians. So does that and again, I'm just sort of lost as to it is just the collapse of all of the infrastructure on this planet. There is I don't know how you get another brain. I suppose part of the reason that Kirk is emphatic about it is that no man should be
no one can kill a man and everything. I think didn't they say it was 10,000 the brain can the brain as the controller can last 10,000 years or something. So I guess they have a countdown, so they know when it's going to eventually.
So they know when to go hunting for brains.
it seems like the computer really, I don't know how the computer, I'm curious how the computer instructs her, because like they force her to wear the teacher, and she's just like, I can't, it's against the rules, I'll be punished, blah blah blah. And you're kind of like, they don't I don't if I remember correctly, they don't really elaborate on that.
No, they
On why
don't.
she reacts that way.
Who is
So-
going to punish her?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
she seems to be in charge. So another Nimoy quote for this episode: I was pretty much in more ways than one out of it during the making of that episode. I realized with what was going on around me that some of the stuff seemed kind of silly, but there wasn't much of a contribution I could make because I wasn't a participant. Not much I could do about what was going on. And what we ended up with was an episode that was kind of a no-brainer.
Haha.
Not our best. Whose brain did I use, says Ariba Bell. Abby something. And Franco finishes Abby normal. And so Kara puts on the brain helmet. What's it called? The teacher. And suddenly she's intelligent now, briefly.
I wonder
For
if she
that
was
reason.
chosen because her synapses were more receptive to the teacher.
It's possible, yeah. This is kind of a cool concept because it reminds me of something that shows up in Stargate SG-1, and that's the problem in that episode, is that all the knowledge is in this guy's head, but his brain isn't advanced enough to really take it, so he's gonna die.
It wasn't designed, or like the human brain
Don't
wasn't
forget it
designed for
also-
this particular teacher.
Right.
It also shows up in Forbidden Planet.
Hey, I'm
Agreed.
sorry, Jill. I have
Yes.
to.
Yes.
I have to drop
can you?
sooner than I thought.
Okay. What's your rating for this episode, and what do you think of
You
it?
know, I think all the original series are A's, but this is a little less. So I'll go
Little
A
less.
minus.
A- for Spock's brain. Very good. Thank you,
Take
Bird of
care,
Prey
Bird.
5. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here for
I'm
as
so
long as you
sorry.
could.
It's good to see you,
We're
Bird.
having a problem with the heat, and we thought we were going to have it fixed today, but now not so much.
Sorry to
Oh
hear
man,
that.
I'm sorry to
gotta
hear that too. I hope it
figure
gets
out what's
fixed
going on.
soon.
Thank you. Hope
Good
so,
luck,
too.
sir.
Bye.
Cheers, Bird of Prey.
Good to see you.
Thank you
Let's see.
again, and yeah, see you later.
If you're going to fix the heat, what you're going to need is a brain, and you put that in the furnace, and it'll control the rest of your environmental controls in the house.
I forget, in Forbidden Planet they called it the Educator, didn't they?
Oh, what did they call it?
I
All
think
I
it's
know
called
is
I
that
think it was called the Educator.
it increases your IQ,
Yeah.
and that's why it's such a
And-
great concept. Is because it's from Forbidden Planet, and I
Yeah,
love
and
it.
then like you had the dial, you had the cool dial that they built for Forbidden Planet, where they showed like how high your intelligence was.
Mhm. Oh
Like you
yeah,
compare humanity to what Dr. Morbius had with the Educator, and even his enhanced knowledge was nothing compared to the high level of the Krell. Like,
right. He even says,
he compared his hyper intelligence to that of a child. A Krell
no,
child.
he says worse than that. He says I'm a low grade moron compared to.
Oh
these-
yeah, that's right, low grade
compared to
moron.
these.
There you go.
Aliens, I love that movie. Matt G says, thank you so much for the super chat. Taylor Swift greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU. They're going to steal Jill's brain to run a Whataburger.
Oh,
I haven't
Texas.
had a Whataburger in a little bit. Yes, but I do have it quite a bit.
They have a decent breakfast biscuit sandwich at Whataburger. So if you
Yeah.
ever go there, try to get the breakfast.
And if you want to sound like you're a true fan of Whataburger, ask for a Bob. That's the breakfast on a bun. And
I like how like her acting, her tone, her acting is totally different here. Now that she's worn the teacher and she's intelligent, she sounds like a strict like matriarch here.
but then she pulls a phaser out of nowhere.
Well, I mean they knocked them out, so I'm certain she took one of their phasers.
Or I guess that's what happened at some point, but this didn't happen on screen.
No, it didn't. You're right.
But I
That
like your
is the
explanation.
knowledge you have
have
brought
an answer
me.
for everything.
Enough
But
to
it's
enough to cut to commercial. That's how dangerous the situation was. Enough to cut
right.
to commercial.
He's got the phaser back. It's totally fine. Nobody worries.
He gets Scotty faint, pretends to faint. He's just like, what? And then he just grabs it. And they play a little whimsical theme. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's arguing with her. He's like, you must put back what you have taken. I will not betray my people. The controller's gonna stay.
I need it.
And so McCoy's like, you know what? It worked on her. It might work for me. And then Spock is, or Spock in the controller's like, it could cause irreparable damage to your brain, raising the stakes.
Yeah, and that is another direct reference to Forbidden Planet. Is the extra knowledge will hurt you.
That was actually the shot that they use of McCoy reacting to the teacher with the thing on his head was what they used for the box art for the VHS. The box art, the VHS that I owned.
Yeah, that's what I use for my thumbnail because it's the best sci-fi concept in here because it's directly.
And I like how they don't show anything. They just have a little cutout for the top of the head. The top
well,
of
yeah,
the head.
just like it's like they do that in some surgeries. Like they say they do it for sanitary reasons, but for this, in this case, it's so they don't have to show brain surgery.
Exactly, budget. One of Robert Justman's many solutions.
Yeah, he had a lot of solutions for this episode.
Yeah, he used to like pick apart scripts with a fine tooth comb. He's like, okay, we can't do that. We can't do that. That's too expensive. That's too expensive. That's too expensive.
He was basically the only person left who had a influence in writing episodes who knew Star Trek. So, but
yeah,
how much that actually helped?
And he knew budget. He knew exactly what they would need to do to implement things in there. He's like, oh, this is not going to work. This is going to be too expensive for what we have.
But it was basically Bob Justin versus the people who didn't know Star Trek, the NBC executives, Fred Feinberger and Arthur Singer.
Jill, do you know that Bob Justman actually wrote a book about the production of Trek? They don't have it on Kindle, but I want to I need to get a copy because I want to use that too if I am to make a retrospective for the
Pop
original
Culture
series.
Curator has it. He doesn't read from it so much anymore, but he used to read it for me.
Okay. Yeah, I seem to get mixed reactions from it, so I kind of
it gets emotional reactions from me. I don't mind getting mad at I don't get mad at Bob Justman. He's a sweetheart. It's the other guy who was a producer executive. What's his Herb Solo. Herb Solo is the one who I get mad at. He really doesn't like Gene. And there's some really nasty stuff he says about him.
I forget.
I don't mind hearing it. Well, I mean, Gene doesn't go around saying bad stuff about him.
Well, I would say he wouldn't. But in my opinion, I would. My estimate would be that he never really said anything nasty, but there's obviously some animosity.
Yes, there's definitely, but I don't mind hearing.
But I know a lot of it is that people don't like to hear the truth. And when he talks about Gene womanizing the women, cheating on everybody,
well, that's just true.
And him stealing everyone's ideas, people don't want to hear that stuff.
Well, some of those things are just true.
So,
but the way that he relates,
I made a video about. Right, I have a video that I produced on my channel talking about how Gene's not exactly original with his ideas. I'm going to try to put this as nice as possible because otherwise I'm going to have 100 knives in my back by the time I'm done. But people hated that video. They don't want to hear it. It's like hearing that your grandpa has got some shady past, and what he did to your grandma, and people don't want to hear that.
Well, so I'm fine with hearing it because it's not definitive or anything. It's just a possibility, and so I don't mind hearing the possibilities. And I'm really glad that you made it. And I don't mind hearing from that book if you've got something cool from it that you want to share.
The last part we left on was when I was talking about the contract negotiations with Leonard Nimoy. That's where I left off.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I
mean, like, if there's anything relevant to the episode in particular, but in any case,
that's okay.
I would like to hear it.
That's okay. I've retired the book. I appreciate it though.
Well, we'll probably get to hear it on our Boreal stream then. That'll be cool.
Speaking of Herb Solo, so I was trying to remember because I
Maybe I'll
see
pull it.
at the end of every season 1 episode, you see Herb Solo's name on the end credits, and I was like, okay, I forget. Did he work for Paramount? Did he work for Desilu? And apparently, he's worked for Desilu. My question is, did he report to Lucille Ball?
I don't know. James Caserta says he was a network spy.
He was a network.
Lucille Ball wasn't very closely connected, other than approving in budgets. She wasn't really didn't have a lot of hands on with Star Trek.
No,
every
she
now
really
and then she
didn't.
would help. Every now and then she would help come in after the end of the day and help clean, sweep, and vacuum
had
and
money.
stuff. But that's
Because
Oh,
I've
that's
heard
really
so
nice
many
of
tall
her.
tales about Lucille Ball, and the reason Star Trek exists was because of her. Was that true?
Well, it was, at first she
just
thought
a
it
bit
was
of
a cruise
exaggeration.
ship with. At first, she thought it was a cruise ship with celebrities on it, so she misunderstood the name. So when
Like
she approved the name, she thought it was like the Love Boat. That's why it's called Star Trek, like star like a celebrity. She
Okay.
approved this show and then found out it was a space show, and they said, "Wait a minute." And then that's when they went in and spoke to her and said, "Look, this is what it's about." And she said, "Okay, I'll give it a chance." But when she approved it, she thought it was about a cruise ship with celebrities.
Yeah, exactly. And let me see if I have something about it.
Yeah, because according to those. Well, anyway, I don't want to bring up the book.
But there's a website that talks about her role, the truth about her role with Star Trek, and it's
Okay.
it's a bit over exaggerated how much she was
right.
into
I
Star
was
Trek. But
I was just watching an interview
she
with
had
her.
money.
She was definitely rich, and not only that though, but the assets she had, like ownership rights, and even if she would have spent all her money in one day, she still had money pouring in from her shows and everything else, and she had a lot of assets. So she had it's really sad that her daughter's exploiting all that now. So for me, that's a touchy subject. It's sad.
Lucy,
That's why I
the
can't
wife,
stand Lawrence
the
Luckin
wife
Hill.
of
I had
Cybok,
my land.
Lucy Arnaz. Is that who you're talking
Yes,
about? The wife
him and her
of
are just
Cybok, Spock's half brother.
right. But he's involved too. They're both squandering Lucy's money and her legacy, and it's too bad. And they're exploiting her and Desi. It's a disgrace.
Oh,
She even had her body dug up out of Hollywood. Dug up her body.
What?
Had it shipped to New York so she could display it on her museum.
That's insane.
Really?
No.
Yes,
what?
I'm not joking.
Like she's a mum.
Pretty much.
For real?
Because I saw her grave when I was in LA looking when I went to see celebrity graves. I saw it. And yeah, she had her daughter had it dug up, removed, and flown to New York and put on display in a museum. So I think that was. I mean, yeah, I already not liked what the daughter was doing, but that was the last straw.
But it's insane.
And Lawrence Luckin Bill is right along with it, spending all that money because he doesn't work. I mean, what was the last time you guys saw him? First of all, what did you see him in before Star Trek V, and what have you seen him in since?
I don't know. That's the only thing I've ever seen.
Oh, who are you talking about?
Cybok.
Oh, Cybok.
I mean, he was basically he was replacement Sean Connery.
Yeah, Scotty R37 had to step away, or he might have something to say. I don't know about him as much.
I don't know. It's just too bad.
Scotty is a fan.
I like this part right here. Like Spock's going into the details of the history of the planet, and McCoy's like, "I knew I was wrong. What's that, Doctor? I should have never reconnected his mouth." Bum 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 bum. Oh well, we took the risk, Doctor.
Fred Freiberger.
I do not believe he has the knowledge to restore a brain.
Thank you. Jeez, you didn't have to say it out loud. That's what McCoy's thinking.
A child could do it.
Not a low-grade moron can do it.
I should have never reconnected his mouth.
I was a little ahead of myself. Sorry.
No, that's okay. You did it in the perfect order. You changed nothing about it.
I like what's funny is one thing I used to keep track of were the themes that they would play at the end of the episode. This is the only episode that played this particular theme. Da 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 da. Very, very 60s sounding end theme. But this was the only episode they actually played it, because I used to keep track of the episodes I played the different themes, because they would reuse themes quite a bit. I know I'm weird like that. I'm a nerd.
No, that's
Oriole.
really great that you keep track of the music like that. I really should.
I mean, like when La La Land Records came out with the score for this series, I was like, holy crap. Because I was looking as a kid in the 90s, I was looking to find a way to be able to listen to this. And I couldn't for years. So the fact that La La Land Records released it, and now I can play it. Like I go on when I go on solo road trips and all that, I play it and it's perfectly atmospheric. It's like I clean my room to the original series themes and all that. It just helps you focus on what you got to do.
Oh yeah, definitely. And there's a little more from the book. Let's see what we got. So, I didn't exactly finish talking about the episode. I think what I had here is that that this last part of the episode is the weakest part. As much as I love brain surgery, this was it was stupid. I wanted to pretend it makes sense that Spock knows how to operate on his own brain because he was just hooked up to the controller, and so he must have had access to the stores of knowledge within it. But I realized I was just making crap up because the episode doesn't tell me any of this, and also, he would have had a limited time with that knowledge. Coming up with these headcanon things are the only way to get through this episode. And I shouldn't have to do that. And
I agree.
it was Bob Justman's idea, and this is the first time I've ever seen him. It's in the Mark Cushman book that he apologizes for one of his ideas. So it was his idea to have Spock help with surgery, but there's some people who like that part, and that's okay, of course.
I mean, I was okay with it. I was able to, even as a kid, I was able to put that together. But like, I agree with what you're saying. Like, there needs to be some stronger writing. You can't depend on the viewers. You can't depend on the viewers to put stuff together for you. I mean, you got to put in the work. You're getting paid to do this. So, and I'm sorry, I'm projecting my frustrations with New Trek. Right now, so.
Yeah, well, that's just the worst writing there. So yeah. Spock's brain is better than that, at least.
Oh yeah, I can watch this. I can rewatch this and still enjoy it.
Yeah, it's kind of it's unintentionally funny.
Yeah, and I mean, like once again, like when it comes to episodes, I mean, there are episodes like this. There's TNG episodes. There's some bad DS9 episodes. A whole bunch of bad Voyager episodes in Enterprise. And Scotty, you're muted.
No, I'm good.
I can rewatch those episodes because they are surrounded by even better episodes in the show, and it just makes you appreciate. Sometimes the creators, sometimes they make mistakes, or some episodes don't turn out the way they should. But when you have new shows where every episode's like that, that's unacceptable.
Yeah,
and I can't. That makes them virtually unwatchable, and they're so disconnected from everything else. I can easily cut them off.
And yeah, no, I don't even consider anything past 2005 Star Trek. But in terms of the original series, I'll watch Spock's Brain over And the Children Shall Lead or Alternative Factor anytime, because it still has some kind of an entertainment value. And so we're at the part of our live stream where we can give our reviews. So please tell me what you would review this episode as, letter grade format. Nerdporio.
Oh, okay. For this one, I mean, like they said, this is a fun adventure episode going after MacGuffin, in this case Spock's brain. This was something I really enjoyed as a kid. Seeing it, this obviously nostalgia is baked into my love for this episode, but a lot of the criticisms are valid. So I would still give this episode because I just love the original series. This one I would give an A-. Same as Bird, mainly for the nostalgia. But I just loved the I love the new shots. I love I like it when they go on planets. There was new villain, the beautiful women. I mean, the dialogue could have been better. Absolutely, some of the things should have been explained. That's why I don't give it an A. Actually, maybe A minus, B plus. I haven't really made up my mind. Maybe I'll have to really critique this.
But you can give it one grade today and a different grade tomorrow. We're
All right,
always
okay. I'll
changing our
stick with the A
rankings.
minus. I'll stick with the A minus. Maybe a B plus later down the
Or today.
down
Yeah.
the line.
When you get to think about it some more, you can change it.
I mean, it's not up there with season 1. I mean, I'll say season 3 is the worst season in terms of episode quality. And if you ask me if they would have made a season 4, if somehow that letter campaign succeeded for season 3 and they made a season 4, I think season 4 would have been, and you guys might disagree with me, I think season 4 would have been worse in terms of quality.
I agree.
I kind of think so
that's
too.
that's why there wasn't a letter campaign for season 4. They're like, thank God season 3's over.
I thought there was, it just failed. I thought they were
Oh,
like
there
they did
was?
season 2 had
Was
the
there?
campaign that led to season
Well,
3,
okay.
and then I think they tried with season for another season. Then the NBC was like, no, we're not listening to you guys.
I'll have to look into that. That I just
I think
Yeah, I
same
like-
same
I like
people,
that
Betty
idea.
Jo, Bijo Trimble,
Bijo
and
Trimble.
her husband.
Okay, so I would love to ask Bijo Trimble what the deal was with season 4 for Star Trek. But until I get the chance to figure all that out, Scotty, how do you review this episode?
Well, I have rose tinted glasses for this one as well. And I know it's like a cacophony of people saying it's the worst. Brain and brain. What is brain? But I still think it's a great adventure. I think anytime I can get the big 7 in an episode, I'm a happy camper. It is a little silly. Some of it doesn't make sense. But then again, how does Trelane like instantly teleport himself about a planet with a mirror? I don't know, but it works and I like it. And
He's
so
part of the
with
Q
this one-
continuum.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
that's
Well,
that's
if-
how I
Well, the
dismiss
explanation
the
for that
Gorgon.
is that the entire premise for that is that there's a alien. It's a supernatural alien already. It's already an alien that we're not going to understand. So it
Sure.
gets a pass for that. So it's a little different.
And with this one, I sort of like, as with And the Children Shall Lead, I pull in beta canon to like it more. With this one, it's like, okay, ancient civilization with superior technology that has a better way to extract a brain. I'm okay with this, oddly enough. It's better than And the Children Shall Lead, though. I think I gave that one like a B or a B minus. This one, I'm going to give a B plus. It's one of the difficulties when you're reviewing the original series, because there are so many highlights that you have to temper or I have to temper my joy for just seeing the classic crew all together, alive and kicking, especially nearly 60 years later. It fires all of my neurons and makes me smile. And there are parts that I'm just like, oh, that doesn't make sense, but I'm going to let it fly because it's Star Trek. It's great. So I'm going to go with the B plus. And even then, even when you don't have to look at anything from season 1 or 2, just season 3 itself, there are still some highlights that this one doesn't quite match some of the heights. So B plus for me.
Well, thank you for that. And pop culture curator, what do you give this one?
I give it a B. I think it's entertaining. It's got okay. I've learned, especially as you know, Jill, from watching Lost in Space, is sometimes you can get a lot of stuff that really doesn't make sense, more fantasy, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek can cross that border sometimes. I don't expect it to be extremely believable all the time. So I actually enjoy the episode. I still like it. For me, anything's better than Way of Eden. At least this episode doesn't commit the ultimate crime of being boring, which Way of Eden is.
Herbert.
I mean, not only is it boring, but it's well, like when they say that in other phrases, it's annoying. So I still appreciate Spock's brain. If I was to count my favorite Star Trek episodes and where I would put Spock's brain, is definitely not at the top, but it's not that close to the bottom. There are episodes that I dislike more, so I will give it a B. And I did appreciate it. A lot of tropes. I actually laughed at certain scenes because they're so silly and over the top. And if women are offended by it, I'm sorry. That's just that. Was a lot of people they complain and use it as excuses. They use these older shows and movies when things were done at a different time, and that's because they don't understand the background. And Star Trek had never tried to be offensive intentionally. So I enjoyed the episode. Thank you for having me on, Jill.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
same.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much for that review. And you guys love Star Trek so much. I get to my review and I feel so bad for what I've done. But I don't rate I like it better than And the Children Shall Lead Too, which I gave an F. So the
I
fact that I
think that
give
might
this
be the worst episode of the original series.
I,
That or
I,
Way to Eden are the bottom two for me. Like
um,
it's hard to rewatch those.
I put Alternative Factor worst for several reasons,
I
but
did not dislike
I
that
talk,
one. I actually liked
do.
that one.
I
It
know
But
a
at
was
lot of
least
people do.
at least the Alternative Factor and the Children Shall Lead had some kind of action. There was none.
Mhm.
There was nothing interesting in the way of strictly talking heads for now.
The hippies died.
the Alternative Factor. When I watched it late because it was on TV. It was on network TV when I was a kid in the 90s. It was Saturday night, Sunday morning, midnight, and I'd sneak into the living room to record it when my parents were sleeping. And I was watching it. I had the TV on. I was watching it. I'm like, and they show the segment where Lazarus goes into the other world, and you see the shot kind of going like this, like they're glowy, and everything goes upside down, and you see like all these weird images. I'm like, what? I'm thinking, what as a 12-year-old, like, what the hell's going on here? And I've had to rewatch the episode several times to appreciate it. But it was the first time that they dealt with the idea of a parallel type of universe, even before
Yeah, I
Mirror
thought.
came out.
Well, see, that's what made me so mad about it is that it was so cool that they were coming up with a parallel universe idea, but the way they handled it really, really stunk for me. I thought it was they didn't explain anything. They made it really goofy. They just overlaid some nebula images, and they had the guys fighting each other.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what if Lazarus?
And they're like,
That's
well,
that
why
part.
do you have to trap both of them? Like that was the one thing. Yeah, like why do you have to trap both of them? Why not just kill the other guy? That's ripping into the universe.
Well, another major plot hole that is the ship didn't look realistic, and it was very, very small. And as we pointed out while watching the episode, there was no controls on the inside. They didn't bother the prop makers when they built it. So it was just a shell. You could, and if I would have said, okay, we don't have the budget or the time to build an interior on this in the ship with controls and buttons and lights, then try not to show that on camera. But they did. That was the problem. So you could just it looks like a toy. When you go back and watch, you think, well, that's incredibly small. In fact, if the guy is sitting in it, he can't even move anywhere. So
did they reuse that? Did they reuse that ship or
agreed.
some of the
Agreed.
like I think that the top little
dome.
They did.
Dome they
That's when they
reused for
broke
the
off.
Gamesters of Triskelion
and that was fun.
Right. That's the right. If you watch this, we pointed it out when you watch the end of the episode, is when they transferred the prop from the studio to Vasquez Rocks, and they broke that dome off in the process. So in the last scene, it's laying over on the side of the ship. It's not even on it, and they don't mention it at all.
Of course. And then, of course, the one big thing from the Alternative Factor that I laugh at to this day is there's a shot where like the mustache came off of Lazarus because they brought in Robert Brown at the last minute. So originally they hired Drew Barrymore's father to play Lazarus, and he didn't show up to set. So the last minute replacement was they got Robert Brown to play Lazarus, and so he didn't have a mustache or a beard, so they had to glue one onto him. There was a shot where he didn't have it on. I was like, what's going on? He has it and then he doesn't.
It's just the mirror universe one or the alternate universe one.
Yeah, and you had the bandage was the differentiator between the two different Lazaruses.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm making fun of it because
I do like this conversation. But wait, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good.
Okay, so I just wanted to actually give my review first before we.
Sorry.
No, but that's okay. I'm so glad that you mentioned Lost in Space Pop Culture Curator because that's in my final thoughts here. I had at the first notion that I could talk about how I'm reviewing Lost in Space, watching it for the first time over on Pop Culture Curator's channel, and because I was watching, was I watching Star Trek or Lost in Space this week? But you know what? That would be kind of mean to Lost in Space because I think even they know you need a brain to live. to be alive, right?
That
I
could
don't
be a
know. I'm not
stretch.
a
Yes, I don't think they ever sink that low. Right, but you're right. But they, as we all know, they have flaws in other areas. So
yeah, they
I don't
do. They
hold it
do.
against them. Yeah.
But they
So
never rip anybody's
I
brain out.
guess what? Honestly, I would have to say only because they hadn't thought of it. I wouldn't put it beneath them. I'll put it that way. But that's why I love Lost in Space.
Right. Right. If this were a Lost in Space episode, I would probably go for B+ too. But this is Star Trek, and I hold Star Trek to a higher standard, and so I do give this a D+. But the reason I thought this
Star Trek
episode
should be
is
held to a little higher
entertaining.
standard, right?
Yeah, for me it is, and it's entertaining in a brainless kind of way because you have to be imaginative to watch this episode because there's so much headcanon you have to throw into everything in order to explain all of the things they don't explain. And so, yes, I enjoy a Lost in Space episode, even if it's a little silly, but this one is just a lot silly. So, but it being unintentionally funny is what saves it for an F for me. And that's basically its legacy. And so that's why I think it's so cool that there was that improv group that did that play that I really want to see how they
I wonder if there's
it.
any videos. I have to look this up now.
I think some people did find something in the chat, but I don't know for sure.
If
And
you do look
so
up Spock's Brain improv or stage play, I think someone else found it with stage play. And if Jill, I don't know if you have that poster still because the videos are from 2004, and so the guy who directed and produced the improv stage play, it's on his YouTube channel, so there are clips.
I have it. I just have to look in my folder here.
Sure.
Here it is. And then I have to share my screen again. And then I can finish my review. Here we go. So the thing I think that is lovely about Spock's Brain, even though I give it a D+, is that no one ever remembers the episodes of the original series that are way worse because this one is so memorable. So I'd say it's the best of the worst for me so far because I am ranking my lowest episodes too. I know we're going to do a live stream about our top 20 or 25. I don't know how many yet. But now maybe we need to have 2 live streams, one for our top episode and one for our bottom episode. Or should we merge them together? I'm not sure yet. I need to think about it. But
as always,
I can't,
whatever you choose.
Yeah, I know. I kind of think. And so, but there are some really cool ideas here. Other things that keep it from the F rating, like the elevator kind of thing, and the teacher and the temperature suits. Little elements here and there, bringing back the rock fire, the heated rock to use instead of a fire. But anything.
Sorry.
Anything that would have let me believe in what was happening on screen was not given any credence or any kind of explanation on any level. So, and this is the only time where I actually rate a TNG retelling of an episode much higher. A little bit higher, as they use this. Actually, I don't go that much higher. I only do a C- for this episode. So I like it just a little bit more than Spock's Brain, and that's the Next Generation episode, When the Bow Breaks, which is one of only 2 West episodes that I give any attention to because I like it just a little bit more. It's not even B range, so I only grade it 1 step above Spock's Brain. But it's also about a retrograde society that survives off knowledge and technology from their forebears. And anyway, there it is. And that's my review. And that's the poster. If you guys want to find the play, I'm sure somebody can find something somewhere.
And the YouTube channel, the director and producer of the improv is Mike Carano, Carano.
Mike Carano, thank you.
Let me type that, Mike Carano.
And so I'm going to share the chat here so we can see what people from the chat have voted. They have voted 26. We have 26 votes today. 35% give this episode an A, just like Bird and Nerdporial do. And 23% give it a B range, like Scotty R37 and Pop Culture Carrier do. And 4% give it a C. So the middling range is a little less touched. So you can tell people really have a very high emotional value rating to this episode. They don't think nothing of it. They have something they have something to say about it. And so that's what makes it more fun to talk about, like other episodes that like the empath. I feel like I'm going to be bored during that live stream. I don't know what's going to happen then. Cuz that episode is the first TOS episode where cuz I was watching this, I binge watched it when I was 19 years old for the first time when I was in college. And it's the first episode that I just fell asleep to in the middle of the day watching it. It's just knocked me out and impacted. And I don't know what I'm going to think about it actually analyzing it. I'm not sure I've actually watched the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
So that's a little secret there. I think I tried another time and I was like, nah, never mind. James Cathurda said, threading a needle with a sledgehammer. Oh, yeah, for the brain surgery, yes. Franco Walker says, this is where the episode gets really silly. Yeah, it amplifies because you get a cool teaser. I kind of really like the teaser for Spock's brain.
So
it was a little bit of fun.
So I found
Yes.
Mike Carano on Instagram, and I looked. I'm going through his thing, and I found a picture of a newspaper showing the production. I'm actually he only has a few likes, so I actually leaving a comment right now. It's like, I had no idea this existed. I love the original episode. Any footage or clips of the performance? Question, and then that's what I posted just now.
God, that's awesome. I hope you get a response. That is incredible. And thank you so much to him for being on social media so we can ask that question, and for making this improv play that apparently was very well received at the Star Trek convention in Las Vegas. And Reba Bell says, I love DeForest Kelly's performance in the teacher scene. A child could do it.
Who doesn't love DeForest Kelly?
A child could do it. And yeah, I do. I know. I loved him too because he plays it perfectly straight. He's so serious about it, and he wants to give this the drama performance that he can't. He gives it his all, but it's still hilarious because I don't know if it's funny because everybody plays it so straight, but he does a great job of delivering those lines for sure. Performance-wise, everybody gets an A, of course. JT Kirk says 735 Club, and yes, that's Raquel Briggs has counted up all of real Star Trek from 66 to 2005, and the total is 735 episodes.
I would, I know I'm going to probably get disagreements, but I would add the 11 episodes of Star Trek Continues to that.
Oh, right. And yeah, that is a good fan performance, and the only reason it doesn't get included is because it's not canon. But
yeah, well, stuff that
it was done with
Hollywood's
more heart.
The stuff that Hollywood's making now is not canon either. So
it's not.
It's getting fuzzy, the difference now. So, but yeah.
I agree with you. And yes, it's leaps and bounds better than what the people who actually hold the license are doing. Yes. And JT Kirk gives this episode an F-. So I don't feel so bad with my D+ anymore.
There you go.
Franco says, don't forget the poll. I just remembered. Thank you. And Franco gives this episode a B+, just like Scotty.
Sweet.
Music, third season is great. Yes. Good soundtrack.
Best composer is Fred Steiner, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
I love all the cello accompaniments he did in season 1, especially episodes like Balance of Terror, Charlie X, Mud's Women. I mean, my end screen for my channel, my outro, I play a clip of Fred Steiner's stuff from Mud's Women. When hearing Mud saying, "But they'll throw away the key," and then the end credits.
Nice.
So,
That's pretty cool. That's pretty smart.
It's a great way to end it gives a very somber, very cerebral. It's a cerebral type of outro. The music I chose. So I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I want to the gravitas of the original series is, in my opinion, is unmatched, and the music really nails it.
Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah. Star Trek, the music is magic. James Caserta says, fantastic minus. That's a nice way to give it an F minus. Wes Cagle says, I gave it a B. It's a bit silly, but it's entertaining, and most importantly, it has pretty girls in sexy outfits.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Kaleidoscope, psychedelic, musical feast. Alternative factors, says James Caserta. And Gorilla's Random Thought says, Scotty can blame all 20 Fs on me. Gorilla, you really got into 20 different accounts to grade an F.
Just a shotgun blast of Fs.
So there are only 8 real reviews in the chat. James Caserta says, surrealism is a thing. Important in sci-fi. And thank you so much to Wes Cagle. Wes Cagle sent a super sticker. What is it? Let me see. Oh, it's a little Bushiba sending hearts. Oh.
Jill, I have a question.
Hearts right back at you. Yes.
When you write your review, is it before the stream?
Yes.
So do you ever have it changed during the stream after we review it and cover
Sometimes I will change it because of what I hear. Sometimes I am compelled enough by what I hear to give a rating bump. So if you want to know, I had it.
What about in this case? What about today's episode?
A D to D plus. That's all it got. It went up just a little bit.
So is that what it was before the stream, and you haven't changed it? Is that correct?
No, it was a D before. I did move it to a D plus.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Hey, well, at least it paid off a little bit there. It was worth the effort.
Just a little. I tried. I just can't put it into C range.
That's okay. That's the whole point. Is we all have different opinions. I love it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Lex Entropy said, I was spoiled by seasons 1 and 2. Lex Entropy says, I found 8 minutes of the stage play and a news story. Titles Star Trek, Spock's Brain, on stage, Mike Carreno. Okay, so that's he's giving us, I think what he's doing is Lex is giving us what to search for. So these are search terms you can look up. So if you want to copy what he says here, Spock's Brain on stage with Mike Carreno. And
so
Star
we're
Trek
going to
Spock's Brain on live.
Okay, so we're going to have an episode where we cover our favorites and then what we believe are the worst. Is that correct?
Yes, best and worst. Yeah, that'll be our very last original series show on Tuesday. I might still talk about the original series on Fridays whenever I want, because Friday is whatever I want, whenever I want. And we're like, oh, we want to talk about the original series.
Right.
We can. So it's not like it's the end of it on my channel forever, but it will be for Tuesdays.
Sounds good.
Sci-fi need not explain everything, says James Caserta. Yeah, but I'd like to explain, a couple of things. Trek has 75 absolute gems. Hey, that's a pretty good run out of 79.
Right. I would take Trek's TOS, that is, batting average over any other TV show.
Mm. And DJ Play Nice says that's a good question. Glad you're here, DJ. Wrinkle Walker says, I found Spock's Brain, the musical, Act 1 on YouTube.
Nice.
Cool. That's cool.
I will have to check it out.
That makes a great drinking game. Every time you laugh, take a swig.
Oh, every time you laugh?
I imagine that musical play, it's probably pretty funny to watch. It'd be interesting because the people are amateurs, and that's always quaint because they always give it their all. They usually go over the top, and I'm sure it's very entertaining. I wish the entire thing was on YouTube.
Yeah, me too. But
I'm probably get struck by Paramount.
Well, it reminds me of the old conventions where fans would get up there and reenact scenes from episodes. It was hilarious because they had no skills, they couldn't act, and they had none of the lines memorized. So they had the scripts in their hands, reading the lines as they're trying to act, and it was more funny than anything else.
And Word Wizard Captain Finity says Star Trek is science fantasy and has, as such, need to explain little. And
Yes.
so
I agree.
I don't. There's some cases where that's true, where you have a really great story,
Yeah.
and you say, "Oh, this is just a fantastic alien that we've never met before, and they have powers that we'll never understand because we're too primitive," and that's okay. I like when that happens, but when it's just plot holes and just little things that would require less than a line of dialogue to just say, "This is built into this device on Spock's head. This also acts as a life-saving device, so it's breathing for him and all of that stuff." And so I would like something like that every once in a while.
Right. They should have. I agree with that. They should have explained what it was on his head. Captain Kirk should have been surprised and said, "Wonderful work, Bones. What did you do? What is it?" Something along those lines. Hey, and he could explain it off in one sentence. But no, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. And that's my basic premise for it. There's got to be some kind of explanation, whether the explanation is fantastic and we can't ever know, or we can just imagine with some technobabble.
How does Morg know English? How does Morg know English? Yeah. Well.
Oh, right. I think they struggled with that with the
right. Star Trek never explains it, right? And they rarely do.
Yeah. No. Well, until TNG, and they're like, universal translator. We got that.
There we go.
And Captain Finity says, "What panelist has the tribbles?" I think that's Pop Culture Curator.
I apologize. Yeah.
No, but I have tribble too.
Yeah, you have the one that you don't have to feed and pick up after, so that's good.
Yeah. It doesn't multiply either.
Doesn't multiply, no.
Yeah.
Neither do mine. I had them right. The sensible thing to do, right?
Well, that's what Bob Barker's legacy is.
Sure is.
He said to have your pets spayed or neutered to help control the pet population.
It's not just that, but it's actually healthy. Like for the female, it's healthy for them. Because if you don't do it, it's actually bad for them when they get old.
Hey.
I need to step away for just a minute. I'll just be back in one moment.
Red alert.
And we will be we'll be going soon, but I just need a minute.
Sure. Keith E in the chat says, "I saw the original broadcast when I was in 5th grade, and when we all went to school the next day, everybody was simply confused." Yeah.
Roughly
5th grader.
Same age as my I think my dad was in 7th grade, but yeah, roughly around that age. So
fans will dissect this episode to pieces because they'll try to explain it from every angle, any little thing that wasn't answered. Yeah, because anybody's been to a convention or a group, Star Trek fans, that's all they're going to do is they can go on and on and on trying to piece something together. It was really that the writers hadn't even thought of. You've seen where they'll ask the actors on stage crazy questions like, "Why in Spock's brain did they not explain this?" And you can just see the actors, their eyes rolling back in their head.
How did it was it? I'm curious why the series had that effect on a lot of on that made these type of fans that were willing to dissect everything.
Yes.
How does this love procure, or how I'm curious of the phenomena,
I don't know how, but I would say it's a great thing, and it's a wonderful thing in the right hands, which is Star Trek. When I see them get obsessed about stuff that is really bad, like New Trek and stuff, then it makes me worry.
I mean, this is what I think. What I liked, what got me into it, was just the fact that there was a lot of consistency. I mean, especially with the characters, things. I know for me, being a kid in the 90s, I thought this whole 60s look, the colorful look and all that, the way the sets work, I thought it just looked kind of exotic to me. That's kind of what I got out of it. Now, I didn't grow up in the 60s. I didn't grow up in the 60s, so I can't really speak for that. But that's just my take as a millennial.
Well, it does look different than modern everything. not just modern Trek, but modern television movies. But
Yeah,
because
and the music. I mean, the music was very, orchestral
it
and
was
had
bombastic. It was
personality.
cinematic. It was
It was
cinematic.
cinematic. Like you hear like, I mean, I
Right.
like Dennis McCarthy's TNG stuff, but a lot of the TNG
Right.
stuff is very just single notes.
Background, it's soap opera.
Background,
right.
yeah.
It was background and it was muted, just like the colors. The reason why the colors are like the R2S is because, and the good reason, which just happens to be a side effect, was because they were trying to sell color TVs. But because that side effect is we get that brilliant saturated color in 60s television.
Well, and one of the things that drew me to it is growing up and my dad watching like World War II movies and then seeing this colorful futuristic setting where everyone had a purpose and they were doing their jobs, and it was a workplace drama that I wanted to be a part of. And part of that workplace drama that I wanted to be a part of was, okay, how do I steer the ship? How do I fix the warp engines? Where do the scanners go? All of this stuff. And you go over the schematics and the technical manuals because it does feel real, or at least it feels like it's something that serious people that you are aspiring to be like brave, courageous, serious individuals.
Right. Look at all the people Look at all the people that became scientists and engineers and doctors and everything because of Trek. That's why I think it's fabulous when they ask questions and they get into it. And I know to us, or to people on the outside, they probably think, wow, but aren't they a little obsessed? Are they kind of crazy just talking about it and needling it apart? Those are some of the smartest minds that end up going on to do great things.
Absolutely. Lex Entropy says, I give it a B. Sexy women trumps scientific accuracy. I enjoy the sexy women.
It's always time for sexy women. And
exactly.
I don't blame that score. That makes sense.
Right.
And then Franco agrees with Lex. TOS had some very beautiful women. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I still think it's fascinating. I saw Joan Collins yesterday, a clip from her Dynasty days. And she looks so much better without all that makeup. She looks so much better as Edith Keeler than she did in any of her future iterations.
Oh, absolutely.
She just really went overboard on that makeup.
That was the 80s, though.
80s, 90s. Well, that's how she was in real life. That's how she was during the 60s when she was not in that episode. That's just how she's always. Because I've seen some of her stuff going back to the 60s. And she always had too much makeup on. It's only during the Edith Keeler is the only time I've ever seen her the way she looks much more natural and beautiful, in my opinion. I think with all women, less makeup the better. I don't like a lot of makeup.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the lady who plays Peg Bundy. What's her name? She
yes.
Katie Seagal.
Katie Seagal, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, when I see her on any other show, I'm like, wow, she's really pretty, actually.
Right, and of course that was character. That was Peggy Bundy's character to wear makeup and the hair and the nails and so.
Exactly.
Just like Edith Keeler, it was her character.
I didn't realize.
Right, like Edith Keeler and Joan Collins, it was her character to be dressed down and working in a mission. She wouldn't be having a bunch of fancy makeup on.
Right, and that makes sense.
Still her best role. It's interesting because normally she did the bad guy on everything. Almost everything I've ever seen her outside of Trek, she's the bad guy, and she's good and convincing as it. But I don't know, she's really good as Edith Keeler. I'd say she's. I'm sorry to get sidetracked. I'd say she was one of the best female guest stars on the whole series of TOS.
This is not a bad choice, but I'd have to think about it. But I'd say that's a great contender. James Caserta says that rocket... Oh, wait, I can't... He says rocket science for dummies is cheaper, but less accurate than rocket science for idiots.
It's true.
Sounds like he purchased those books. AFS in the chat says, if anything, Star Trek tried to be inoffensive. Yeah, that's true. It does. That's why it uses aliens instead of the actual current events. If you're going into continues, you have to include new voyages in Phase 2. Colley's episodes are better in most regards, says AFS. Okay, thank you for that suggestion.
Going over the fan productions is an interesting idea because I think that they did sort of tap into getting interesting guest stars. They obviously put a lot of love and effort into recreating the sets. I I've seen some things, like even as much as I enjoyed watching Continues when it came out, because it is a very, it feels like the original series, but there's two different actors who play Dr. McCoy. I'm not over the moon about the guy who plays Chekhov. I find Vic Mignogna's voice to be just a little bit too high a register.
That's
there's
true.
there's something about it, and so I do like, again, it's great. I think it's great for a fan production, but I wouldn't throw it in with the 735.
Would you say the problem
is my preference?
Scotty, would you say the problem with Vic is because he's trying to be William Shatner? Maybe if he just was a different character, then you could handle the voice better?
Yeah, well, there's the obvious. Yeah, there is that too. There is definitely that. Is that there is a comparison to Shatner, and then he does. I wouldn't say he's doing an impersonation. I think he is actually playing the character. But again, it's just a matter of his voice. He doesn't come off as I don't know, as stern. Maybe that's not the right word, but
commanding or
he commanding, authoritative. He doesn't have that same thing, and when he tries, I feel it just sort of. It's not bad, but it just doesn't live up to my expectation of Kirk. And that's
so good. The feeling I get from that production is that there's a lot of heart in it, and they're real true fans who want to do something great, but they just, you can't be William Shatner. Nobody can.
No. I never thought of it that way, but I felt it perfectly, in my opinion, it perfectly meshes with the original series. Like there were points where I was watching the episodes where I forgot that this was different. This was a different crew. Now, the whole McCoy thing, I get. The Vic Mignogna's voice being a little high, I get that too. I felt that way too. But especially the finale, though, the finale that they came up with for Continues that leads into the motion picture, I thought was brilliant.
Yes,
I think
beautiful ending. Like I shed tears watching that two-parter.
I think the difference with the two of them, William Shatner and Vic, is and one thing is very clear that stands out is you could tell that William Shatner routinely. I mean, you could tell if someone asked you the question, you could automatically tell by just watching them perform, and that is, you could tell William Shatner has stage training, and that's one of the reasons why they project like they do, which makes him stand out better. And he has more control over his voice, and he knows how to moderate a little bit better. Vic is he's done a few things, but he doesn't have nearly the experience that William Shatner did at that point. Stage training is a lot of it. That gives the confidence shows. I mean, not only is their voice louder and they're projecting better, but it also, they exude more confidence.
Well, and he's an accomplished voice actor.
But I'm not knocking Vic for that. I like his show.
Yeah.
Yes,
he obviously very successful voice actor. And what do you do when you're being a voice actor, but you are seeing the image on screen, creating the voice, and you're watching something while providing the characterization. And so, like, I would think that the difference is that when Bill reads the words, he realizes that he's the one who has to create the character and then move forward with the decisions that are being made through that, as opposed to having a mind's eye of what Kirk is. Like, his mind's eye is, okay, well, I look like Kirk, and I have to find the character through my choices as an actor. Whereas Vic, and I'm not saying that this is absolute, this is just a possibility, this is my impression, is that it goes through a filter between Vic to Shatner to Kirk. Like there's an intermediary there that restricts his performance. And again, that's my sense of it. I am not a trained thespian by any regard.
Same here. I just observe. And it's my opinion only. I don't mean to disagree with anybody, but that's just my opinion. But I agree with you, Scotty. I agree with your last statement.
That's the best part about my opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things
one.
about Continues that would be worth exploring. But one of the sad things is Grant Imahara.
Yes.
That was sad. You guys saw that William Shatner visited that set this last weekend, right? Because they had just completed their auxiliary control area.
Nice.
And I don't know how. I mean, I wish I was one of those people. It probably cost thousands of dollars per ticket just to get him there. But yeah, apparently they were showing off a new set that they built, and he was there. And they showed him in the chair answering questions and all that. And I'm thinking that's better than any Star Trek convention you can go to.
Yeah,
One,
actually, when I did go to a Star Trek convention, the 50th, my favorite panel was just Shatner just talking, just saying whatever he wanted.
If you guys seen seen like the screenings of Wrath of Khan and Shatner would come out, he's 89. It was 20. I think it was 2020 when I went to see him. He's 89 years old. He's walking on the stage
He's in his
for
90s,
like 2
isn't he?
hours. I'm sorry.
I could be, sorry, I thought he was already in his 90s. Am I wrong?
Well, back I saw this like in 2019.
Oh, okay.
So he wasn't in his 90s yet. Now he is. He's 92
Yeah,
now.
I apologize. Sorry.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But see him 88, 87, 88 years old, just walking on the stage, talking for 2 hours about, he talks about his horses, he talks about his dogs because he breeds those. Everybody knows that. And he was talking, he brought up a few stories about the production of, I think it was Star Trek 2 or Star Trek 3 or something. And like one time he got pulled over, he was wearing, he took the uniform home. And he said one day he got pulled over and the policeman was like, really? Really? He's like, yeah. And he let the policeman let him go. The policeman let him go.
Exactly. Who the hell is going to give a ticket to Captain Kirk? Like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
It sounds like it would be 7
But
years.
the difference too is he the thing is he actually loves and respects his fans as well. He could have retired at any time. He's got enough money.
Yeah,
but he loves to work. He likes his fans. He respects them.
I think that's what keeps him. I think that's what keeps him going. I mean, right now, and I mean, Shatner loved to play pranks. I mean, he told us a story about how he would steal. So they'd get in to shoot for, I think it was Star Trek 3. He liked to steal DeForest Kelly's toast. So DeForest Kelly loved to toast bagels each morning. He would team up with Nimoy. Nimoy would distract him, and then Shatner would steal his toast. And DeForest Kelly's like, "What the hell, dude? What the hell?" they keep doing. He's like, "Oh, here's your toast."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did. They play pranks, but yeah, he was definitely into doing that for sure.
I thought it was interesting that after Star Trek 6, DeForest Kelly did an interview. We said that was the first time that him and William Shatner ever really got to know each other. That before that, it was just one actor to another. But they spent so much time together on Star Trek 6 that for the first time, DeForest Kelly figured they made a good friendship and bonded in some sort of way. It's sad that it took that many years.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you guys know, but Star Trek 6, Nimoy was one of the main producers, and Nimoy made sure that DeForest Kelly got paid at least $1 million for his performance, for his iconic.
Right, he knew he was retiring, and after all the surgery for his prostate and everything, he needed it.
Yeah, so that I thought that was wonderful. They wanted to bring Kirk, Spock, and McCoy on for Generations. Nimoy said no, didn't like what was in there. And they wouldn't allow DeForest Kelly because DeForest Kelly was just couldn't be insured.
Right, and he was done at that time. And I think that it was a smart move that Nimoy said no. And I was highly disappointed that the three that said yes. I think they were like scabs crossing the line. They should not have been in that movie.
I disagree with.
Sorry, I'm kind of harsh on that movie.
I know.
I love Star Trek 6.
They were just there to fill a space and just to hand off to I mean, if it would have been a good handoff to the new crew or the new cast, it would have been different. But I thought that the TOS characters were handled horribly in that movie.
Oh yeah, I'll say this: Generations, I felt should have been a purely TNG movie. I felt the monologue at the end of 6 was enough of a passing of the torch.
I think yes. I think the last time we saw TOS crew on the bridge at the end of Star Trek 6 should have been the end. It's like Picard. A lot of people are like, why did they even bring him back? They ruined the character. Well, that's what I thought about those three when they did Generations. It's like, I can't believe they sunk that low. Or were they that desperate for money? And then you can obviously tell that Chekhov was supposed to be McCoy. I mean, he's giving people injections and stuff. It's like, it was just, I don't know.
Yeah,
everything about that movie.
Scotty was supposed to be Spock, and you could, it was more. So I watched it recently, and it was even more obvious knowing this. So yeah, I agree with you on that. So
right,
but
Kirk dies, and right, Kirk dies. I was just going to say Kirk dies, And they asked Scotty,
On a
"You know
bridge.
somebody died, right?" Oh, really? That's how Scotty. That's what Scotty would say after all. No. When the Nexus hit the ship and Kirk was disappeared, they asked Scotty, "You realize somebody died, right?" And he was like, "I." That's his response to Kirk dying after all the years of them knowing each other.
Yeah.
But that's also an editing feature. I think one of the biggest regrets that Walter Koenig had about Generations was that it was the first and only time that he had ever like cried during a performance, and it didn't make it into the final cut. There is still,
Yeah, I was gonna say what? I don't remember that.
yeah, no, and it was cut, and he said that was one of his regrets. But like, and in terms of Generations, I'm more of an apologist for it. I enjoy it, and I do like the handing of the baton. But there's a documentary, just to have a little sort of digression. There's a documentary on Netflix now that is talking about Sylvester Stallone called Sly, and he talking about his career and everything. And then he talks about the last Rambo movie and how there was something in the final performance where he basically, at the end of the movie, he's sitting in a rocking chair and they pull away, and it's almost like the end of Shane, and it's like, is he dead? And one of the things that Sylvester Stallone was sort of he pushed for was that at the end of that movie, he didn't want the audience to 100% know that John Rambo was dead. So there was still a little bit of a rock going on in the rocking chair, because he kind of disagrees with the idea of seeing your heroes die in front of you. And that was the first time that I had actually taken that perspective. And it's like, I don't necessarily enjoy the death of Kirk, but I appreciate the performance and I understand the passing of the torch. But I do also, in that sort of romantic watching your heroes and your larger than life icons, there is something to be said, is that, yeah, your heroes will sort of ride off into the sunset and you don't have to worry about them dying, because that's part of the reason why they're your heroes. They will live on with you.
I agree with that. That's why I felt when I first saw The Force Awakens how egregious that was, the way they handled Han Solo. I can't rewatch that movie, and it's soured me with the original trilogy a little bit. I'm like, unless I completely cut it off, say that's not the future.
How do you feel about Harrison Ford taking the role? I mean, don't you think there's some point where he should look at it and say, "This is not just a paycheck. That's a terrible way to kill off this character that I've been playing all these years"? Or do you think it's acceptable?
It's completely lowered my respect for Hollywood actors because of that. Especially with all the new Trek stuff, with all these actors, a lot of these actors coming back, and Picard season 3, all the entire TNG crew came back. I've lost a lot of respect for the actors. Thankfully, I have not lost respect for Shatner, or Spock.
Have you seen American Psycho 2?
I have not.
Yeah, there you go. You can lose a little respect for the man. He's not a god.
Okay, but yeah, I know, but and of course, Nimoy, DeForest Kelly, and James Doohan are no longer with us, so they'll never lose. Their disrespect will be forever. Unfortunately, George Takei.
He does what he does.
I agree. I agree with George Takei. What he's done is a disgrace because of his politics, and I won't listen to anything he has to say currently. I won't watch anything. I won't hear any of his politics. I won't check out his website or Instagram or TikTok. But I'll still watch the rest of
everything he says is just divisive. And the last thing
it is
division.
It is, but I can separate it from Sulu. I'll still enjoy watching Sulu.
Yes, and that's what I can do. I just make sure I'm not seeing what he writes on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
I won't look at what he's talking about on social media, but the other side of him is that he really does love his fans. If you meet him at a convention, he's just so happy to meet you, and
yes,
and excited about that. So if you completely separate Sulu and Takei's politics, you're in a much happier mood with him.
Yes, that's what I would say.
Well, I did see him once. I did see Takei once. He came to, when I was in school, at university. He actually came to my university, but this was right after, because I was in college in the early to mid 2000s. So this was right after he came out and all that, and so I was probably the only Star Trek fan there, and everybody else there were people of particular community. I'll say community without going into details, and a little cringe, thinking like hearing his preferences, like, oh, I love the men with the tight outfits, because all the costumes were pretty tight. So especially in the later seasons, you see Kirk's or Shatner's Billy and all that. So but I love the stuff that he shared about Gene Roddenberry. He always shared stories about him and Gene Roddenberry and what Gene Roddenberry would tell him and stuff. And I know like a lot of people like have certain feelings about Gene Roddenberry, but I mean, if it wasn't for Gene Roddenberry, we wouldn't have had the consistency that Star Trek had that continued all the way till 2005. And for that, I will always be grateful. And I mean, it's one of the earliest fan bases next to be Doctor Who.
Yeah,
I agree completely. He knew how to bring the right people together to make this happen, and I'm so glad he did.
So Roddenberry, still the great bird of the galaxy to me.
Yeah, and Bob Justman gave him that name, and I think it's earned.
Yep, Bob Justman too. Yeah, all of them, Gene L. Kuhn, all those guys.
Yeah, I was hesitating to say it, but a lot of people forget Star Trek was a team effort.
Yes,
it was absolutely
DC Fontana. I mean, I could go on and on about the different.
Matt Jeffries. I mean, I love Matt Jeffries.
It was a team effort.
Yeah, all that stuff. The music, everything that was brought together was just magic.
Did a lot of design work for this episode.
Right. If you randomly just chose any of those names and removed them out of Star Trek history, there'd be a big noticeable difference. They all really had a lot to put in there, and a lot of input.
Oh, yeah.
And as they start disappearing, like when the producer, like Freiberg came in, and as you start seeing the original names disappearing, that's when the quality obviously went down.
Yeah.
Especially when DC Fontana was not overseeing the scripts anymore. It was very noticeable.
When did that start? In season 3?
Third season, yeah.
Yeah, season 3.
Was she not part of season 3?
Well, she was already working on other stuff. Jill was talking about, right? Jill, she was already working on other things by then, right?
Yeah, she was working for other TV, yes.
Right. It was third season. It's like they all just said, well, we're out of here. So, yeah. And it's noticeable.
I'll be right back again.
For sure. I do want to. I like how Wes Cagle described this. Chekhov asks Scotty, "My God, was anyone in here?" To which Scotty replies with a solemn and mournful eye, because that's all the words he could muster. The scene was great, in your opinion.
I thought it was great too.
Yeah, I liked that. And then Cagle goes on to say, "I thought Kirk's death was great. He could have saved himself, but he hung on that bridge long enough to push the button. Fantastic moment of self-sacrifice."
Remember the original script, and when they originally shot it, he was shot in the back. That's what they originally wanted. The only reason we did is because of the fan uproar.
Yes, that was terrible.
The last minute shot.
And thankfully they fixed it.
Yes.
Well, think about this. The only reason why Kirk was there is because Picard can't get his hands dirty and can't do physical fighting. He got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Well, at a certain point, it just becomes
it's like, come on, Picard.
At a certain point, it becomes the storytelling, and there was obviously a mandate. There was a laundry list of things that Paramount wanted, and one of them was both captains. And so, how do you get it there?
Well, all the executives wanted was both captains on the screen at the same time. They could have done that much better.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, in one of the original reviews, it could have been the Siskel and Ebert review, describing Star Trek Generations is like saying, okay, we want a movie with Gene Autry and Clint Eastwood in the same movie. And it's like, yeah, they're both cowboys, but that doesn't mean that they're both going to work together on screen. And I always liked that sort of analogy of just because they're both Star Trek captains doesn't mean that they're going to sit there and high five and save the galaxy.
No, but it reminds me of the missed opportunity that Star Wars did. It would have been nice to see the two of them on the bridge of a ship in combat.
Yes.
Yeah.
That could
have easily been done. And it's like, who said no to any good ideas? That's what I'm saying is it was like a stage play, maybe an elementary school stage play where there was just no budget at all. He dies alone on a mountain. There should have been some sort of space battle, some climactic thing, and Kirk died as a hero.
Well, Kirk did
That could
die as a
easily been
hero,
written that way.
and we did get to see the
No,
destruction of the
I'm just saying
Enterprise,
differently.
whether you
I'm
like
saying
it or
in
not.
battle. I'm saying in battle.
I agree. He should have died on the bridge, not under a bridge. Is the
Yeah.
classic line.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still enjoy it. I still give it marks.
Oh, I know. We had a whole live stream about it, but you were late.
That's okay. I got there and I gushed.
You did. The shot in the back would have been huge if you'd have pants just as big as Han's death.
Funny how that has
think
they
most
have never
people-
released that footage, not even in the extras or their DVDs or Blu-rays or anything. So I think they destroyed it or
Oh,
buried it
Generation.
permanently. No,
The
the scene
two-disc
where Kirk was
DVD.
shot in the back. Because
Yep.
we know they shot it.
I've seen it.
Where'd you on YouTube or what?
No, on the 2-disc special edition DVD that was released in the early 2000s.
Well,
I
obviously,
saw
I
it.
never purchased it because I didn't like the movie, but I didn't know they had that scene.
It's available. It is available, I think.
Oh,
Oh,
we need
wow.
to-
Okay, well, that's good to
Can we
know.
arrange? Right? Can we arrange a watch party?
Let's take a look. Let me see if it's available on the YouTubes. But also, and I just to address the Han Solo thing, as soon as they announced that they were going to have a Star Wars movie with Han Solo in it, as soon as they announced it, I was like, he's gonna die. Like Han Solo, by definition, was going to die because that's something that Harrison Ford wanted.
That's exactly what I
He
was
was
going to
only
say.
he
Yeah,
was only
Harrison
signed up
Ford,
for
right?
the movie too. So
Right. We
Yeah.
knew how Harrison Ford felt about the character. I mean, the reason why Harrison Ford felt about the character was because if you watched it, you could tell in the first three Star Wars. First, we had the first Star Wars where that was everything. I mean, that was everything for Harrison Ford with Star Wars. But then as soon as he hit big with Indiana Jones, he didn't care about Star Wars anymore. That was the whole changing point. Because once he got Indiana Jones, he was the star. He wasn't a character in a movie with an ensemble. And so that was the whole reason. I mean, and I like Indiana Jones, but that's the whole reason why his distaste for Harrison Ford or for Han Solo. Sorry, I didn't mean to kill the crowd.
Oh
No, that's okay. I think we're I think we had a little extended shore leave after the Spock's Brain review, and I think it was really great. And I'm really happy that you guys were here to review this episode with me. And I couldn't thank you guys more, and everybody in the chat. And so
Thanks
I'd
for
like
having
to, yeah,
last minute.
yeah. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, you are welcome anytime you like, anytime you think you have something to share about an episode that you really love. You are welcome.
Appreciate it. I was wondering if I could plug another channel.
Oh,
So
besides your own?
yeah, besides my own. So me and
Okay.
Wakizashi Tea House, he's been rediscovering the original series himself, and so it's basically me and him for like usually an hour talking about the episode. And so what I do is he's rediscovering for the first time. I'm I guess you could say the Trexpert,
The guide.
So and what I do every time is I read the same book. I read the same book that Jill is referencing, and I just bring up some insights into the production and what I liked about it. And definitely I'll add this link to maybe he has a playlist. I'll add that to the chat. So
Yeah, add it to
appreciate
the
you letting me
chat.
plug him.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. No, I like him. I've listened to him before. He's really cool. He talks about books sometimes. He reads. That's a good channel.
It's a great channel.
But also subscribe to Nerdporo Lifeform.
Of course.
Yeah, just let us know what you are up to.
Yeah.
And what else you would like to plug?
Oh, I mean, I do my Chillporial streams. I'm going to do one with my friend Prophet of the Dragon's son. He's a big fan of like Mega Man and Warhammer, so we're going to talk about that. I do a book club for Wheel of Time. I'm currently reading the fourth book with The Shadow Rising. So definitely enjoying it so far. So that's another thing that I'm doing. And I do. I haven't done any Trekporials in a while. I do want to. There is a Chillporial I did with Pete York. We talk about we go into detail about Star Trek Generations. He hates the movie. He has a lot of reasons why he hates it. So we kind of
Me too.
we're kind of friendly debate because I like the guy. He's a good guy. And yeah, I do want to get more people. Chillporial is basically a nerd stream, kind of like Joe Rogan, where it's just everybody we're chill, we're drinking, and we're just having a conversation. And it's not really planned. It's just wherever the conversation takes us. So yeah, if you're ever interested in talking whatever, like if you're a big Star Trek fan, I will talk Star Trek with you. Just you gotta let me know.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds
But
like a lot of fun. Well, that's what you brought to the end of this stream is a mini Chillporial here.
Yeah.
So thank you.
So I'll link the first episode of that we talked about. I believe it was Corbomite, because I felt Corbomite was the perfect way to begin this series, because to me it's truly the beginning of the original series.
Yeah, after the pilots are finished and everything. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Great. And it's wonderful, and it comes up again in the Deadly Years. And
oh yeah,
I love that. I love that episode. But everyone disagrees what Latrania is made out of.
the Tranya. Yeah, that's true.
Dang, it's not. And that I did drop a YouTube link, which is, I think it's like a tongue-in-cheek re-editing, but it is the original footage of Malcolm McDowell shooting Shatner. There is, they show the fight. They slow down a couple of the punches, but there is that. It is available, so totes, check it out. It's only 2 minutes, I think.
Thank you very much, Scotty. I appreciate that.
No trouble, man. Oh, and Franco with the Spock's Brain, the musical Act 1. Thank you for dropping that in the chat.
I apologize. I stepped away for a second. I don't know if there was anything. But
no,
Franco Walker says, thank you. Yes, I just made Franco Walker a moderator.
Hey.
You're welcome. I noticed you, Franco Walker. He says, and he posts Spock's Brain, the musical, Act 1. Oh, wow.
I gotta watch that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Franco Walker. And Nerdporial posts my stream with Gray talking the Corbomite maneuver.
Nice.
Very cool.
So subscribe to Small and Casual Productions. That's the channel that has this.
Let's see.
Perfect.
Oh, I have to put this channel on my list if I don't have it. Let's see. It's loading. For some reason it won't load. Weird. Well, maybe it'll work later.
Oh, that's funny. Hang on. Oh, no. That's good then. I'm just looking.
Everything's.
I'm looking at buttons
for me right now for some reason.
Are you arm wrestling with your lists?
My computer? Yes. What?
Another day.
I'm arm wrestling with my computer. But yes, thank you everybody for being here. And Scotty, what do you have coming up next?
No, nothing.
Nothing at all.
We've got the new season of Fargo starts this week with John Hamm. So because I have my eyes are starstruck when it comes to Mr. Hamm. So me and Kat are going to be reviewing the episodes as they come our way on the Phantasmagorium show. And I think that's, and I hang out and play.
I haven't watched Fargo. Is it worth it? I think each season is its own story, right? Different characters.
Yes. We just wrapped up the first season, and it was really quite good. Actually, it's a modern television show that Pop Culture Curator also enjoys too. So that's high praise. But it was very good. The performances are great, and I can't wait to get through. Like they're on season 5 now, and so I'm looking forward to the 4 that I haven't seen. It's really interesting, and I like the idea of an anthology series where the stories do change and the cast does change. So,
but they take place in the same universe. I'm taking it. Is that how? Yeah, that's how anthology series shows
all. Yeah, all executive produced by the Coen brothers, so it does get that sort of stamp of approval.
That was going to
So-
be my next question. I was curious the extent of involvement the Coen brothers would have. I mean, I have seen the film. You know, I
Yes.
mean, Wood Chippers. I mean,
Yeah.
Wood Chippers. You know, when you think of Wood Chippers after that, never the same.
Nope. Agreed.
The common
But yeah,
link is the town. It's
Fargo,
like the
North
anthology,
Dakota.
like Scotty was saying, right? Like Scotty was saying, the anthology. Like if you see an anthology movie, there's a running link throughout it. Like with Creep Show, it's a comic book, and with Fargo, it's the town. And it
Okay.
seems like, from what I've been gathered, each season takes place at a different time within the same town.
What about the Twilight Zone?
I'm not sure
Whether or
which
not
one
there's
it was
a common
posted
link?
for.
Yeah, is there a common link?
I don't. I think that they're all like,
It's a door.
yeah. It's my comment, because I don't know. I haven't. I've seen a lot of the Twilight Zone, mostly. And speaking of the Twilight Zone, Bird of Prey 5 has done sort of retrospectives or watch-alongs with the originals and the 80s and the 90s Twilight Zones. I prefer the original. I haven't really ventured that deeply into any of the subsequent remakes or reboots or what have you.
If I was to,
Some of
I've
the
watched
80s stuff is good.
I've watched Twilight Zone, the original several times, the 80s version a couple times. I'm not going to watch anything after that, but I would say if I had to, somebody asked me that question, what's the common running link? I would have to describe it as the Twilight Zone itself, like a fourth dimension or a fifth dimension. It's something that exists that every now and then people encounter.
Exactly. It's explained in the title theme.
Right. So it's
I
like
agree
it's something that exists. It's not something we can touch or we can choose to, like, I want to go into the Twilight Zone or I don't. It's the way that they make it appear that it's something that does exist, that every now and then people get trapped in, that are unfortunate enough to get trapped in, I guess. That's just a crazy opinion.
No, that's a wonderful opinion, and I that's what I was trying to say when I said the door, but you said it much better. Scotty R37's Twitter is also available if you guys want to check out what he's doing there. Very funny stuff. And
I would love to do a thorough Twilight Zone, a stream.
That's a lot of work.
Like we're doing. Well, it's a lot of work, but I just don't know with CBS because I'm always getting stricken, and I don't want any warnings on Twilight Zone. Bird was lucky because it was a watch party and he was showing one every 10 seconds, but he wasn't delving into the episodes like we do, and I just don't know if CBS would allow that.
I don't know either. I imagine they'd feel the same way as they do with Star Trek. So yeah, there may be some issues.
Yeah, it's too bad because I would have the book by Mark Scott Zicree.
Oh yeah, his companion. The
Right,
companion.
it's very thorough on every single episode. It'd be great to do a stream with that book in hand.
As Keiko says, so the Twilight Zone is the Nexus, only nefarious.
Yeah,
and written much better.
Yeah,
With
a much better
a
alternate.
competent writer. Yeah.
Yes, a much better alternate dimension for sure. But Pop Culture Curator, tell us what you have coming up. You have something cool tonight. And as a matter of fact.
Tonight we are covering the remake 1988 of The Blob. We did the original a few weeks ago, the 58 version. Now we're doing the remake. We're doing the same with the original Fly. We covered the original, then we'll be showing the remake. It's a horror sci-fi stream, so you might catch a horror movie, you might catch a sci-fi movie, depending on what's going on or what people vote for. Tomorrow, I'm covering the originals. Well, I don't have to say the original, but I'm covering Gilligan's Island season 2. We're getting ready to complete season. Apologize for that. I have to take a phone call. Give me a moment. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, thank goodness you don't have to say the original Gilligan's Island. There is no remake of it, so that's good news. Small blessings in the world are something to appreciate, and one of those things is Pop Culture Writer's channel. So make sure you're subscribed over there. He has some really, really cool live streams where he's really brilliant in terms of how a movie is made. In terms of, if you want to know how something is constructed. He's really, really great at that, and actors and all of those things. Lots of fun. And Wes Cagle says, so the Twilight Zone is like, oh, okay, I read that one. And that's just my stream elements telling me about Douglas Nelson. Funny guy. Catch him on Doomcock's channel on Pop Culture Breakdown. And today's Tuesday, so we got, the 1988 Blob on Pop Culture Curator's channel is, and Russ Cagle says it's really good. The original is an A+ classic, but the remake is well done. And it's good. I'm glad to hear that. It's always good
I
when
still
a
haven't
remake.
finished. I still haven't watched them. I'll have to check them out. I know.
Yeah, when
now I gotta watch them.
Yeah, and then I think he's also going to do The Fly soon too, with the newer one. So that'll be good. With Jeff
I covered
Goldblum.
the Fly myself for Halloween. So yeah,
Nice.
Oh,
the
very
Jeff
good.
Goldblum one. I still haven't seen the original.
I still haven't seen the original either. I just love Jeff Goldblum. So
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum's Fly is fantastic.
Yeah, he's a wonderful actor. And Franco Walker says, "Great stream as always. Thank you so much for being here, and everybody else who stuck around to here. And so we'll see you guys next time. I'm going to play a preview to the next original series episode in production order. Is still the direction we're going with. And the next episode is, what is it?
Is there in truth no beauty?
Is there in truth no beauty? Like, I'm trying to figure out. It's a whole last question. so I kind of got mixed up on how to say it.
I can literally say the names of the episodes in production order backwards.
Nice.
I've done that in stream.
That's
I've done that in
amazing.
stream.
Okay, so instead of looking things up, I'm now just gonna message Nerdpoil. What's the next episode I'm working on?
Yeah.
So Frank Walker says, "Take care, everyone, and much love to you all." And Ari
Sorry about that, Jill.
Ari, I take responsibility.
Yeah, I do too. I haven't seen the real original Fly. Sacrilege, says Ariba.
But something to look forward to.
Yes, DJ. There's so many things on my list, and that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, and if I'm sorry to interrupt, and I just wanted to remind everybody that I have every Rumblings from the Lab with Open Topic on Saturdays and Lost in Space Mondays.
Oh yeah, that's right. And I appear on the Lost in Space reviews on Mondays, so I was there last night.
Right, we're going to be showing the pilot next Tuesday, and then after that, we're diving into season 2. And I'm excited. I've got Mark Cushman's book, and I'm happy. That's all I can say. I'm excited. We're getting
ready
into
to go.
Color.
And it's definitely pretty. So I'll keep that in mind when I'm watching these episodes.
Right, and for anybody listening out there in the geek world like us, I highly recommend Mark Cushman. Look it up, the name M-A-R-C for the first name. He's written some great books about not only Lost in Space, but Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was reading from his book today.
Yes. Very knowledgeable, very detailed. I mean, down to, he'll tell you what was shot on what day, what time of day, on which lot, in which sound stage. I mean, all that. He very knowledgeable.
Right. So I could read from his book and not worry about reading too much, because there's way more than I could ever read in a podcast, and there's way more about Spock's brain than I read from today. I just picked out the pieces that I liked.
That's what you have to do is cherry pick.
Yes, exactly. Is that the one with Medusan Ambassador Kolos? Is there in truth no beauty? Says Wes Cagle.
That's right. And then you get to go the galactic barrier. They go back to the galactic barrier for a third time.
I haven't seen this one in forever, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Too.
Like,
Yeah.
Is that next week?
Well, we'll talk about it next week. Yeah. Yes.
Gotcha.
And on Friday, I'll have I hope I'll have a shore leave. If a family event intercedes, I will let you know within 24 hours. But I think I'll be able to have a live stream on Friday, and we'll just have some fun. And so that'll be it for me. And thank you guys for listening. Everybody on the replay, rewatch, everyone in the chat and the panel. Couldn't have done it without you. This was great fun. I was happy to do it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.
ambassador is most honored to meet you, Mr. Spock.
Clear passageways. The ambassador will be escorted to his quarters at once.
What is it he sees when he looks at you? I must know.
What is it?
Somebody nearby thinking of murder.
Do you know whether he saw the Medusa?
Yes, he did.
Then insanity will surely be the result, Captain.
Lie! Oh, yes, yes. You want him to die. Did you make him forget to put the visor over his eyes?
You're insane!
Captain. What? It's all right.